Okay, everybody out there in internet land. So we think we've solved the problem here, and I'm just gonna go back and I'm gonna replay Marley's video for you. Let me just get it set up here, and you can't hear me probably because since the audio. Oh, maybe you can. Check. Okay. So thank you for being patient. I'm going to put Marley's video back up from the start, and we'll go from there. How's that sound? Okay, videos for VegFest LA, and I'm looking at Marley Ficalora, and here you go. And that's not it. Okay. So I think you can still hear me. Let me just come back here and we're going to try this one more time. I appreciate your patience. There's a lot of moving parts here and we're all doing what we can. Videos. Okay.
VegFest LA for having me be a part of this. I'm so excited to make some amazing toppings that are gonna go great with Mario's chickpea burgers. We're gonna do this awesome spicy mayo, a delicious secret sauce. Yes, it's secret, wait until you see what's inside of it. And we're gonna do some grilled onions and some mushrooms with a little slice of avocado to top off those awesome burgers you just saw made. So let's get started. The first thing you wanna do is you want to make your sauces. So I got pine nuts in the blenders, two different sauces. We're going to do a spicy mayo and we're going to do a secret sauce. You'll see why it's so secret when you get to taste it. So let me show you how to make the first one. First thing we're going to do is make that secret sauce. So you want to add all of your seasonings in, a little bit of ketchup, a little bit of mustard, and some dill pickle. That's the essence of what we're going to use to make this sauce. First, we're going to use pine nuts in the blender, then we're going to add in some seasoning. So what we're going to add in here is paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and sea salt. That's all going to go in with our pine nuts in the blender. You just dump it right in there. About a half teaspoon of each. Not too much paprika, otherwise you're going to get a little bit spicy. You can use smoked paprika or regular paprika, whatever you choose. This is smoked paprika, it's going to make it a little bit smoky. Then we're going to add in some agave, it's going to add a little bit of sweetness. This will balance well with the ketchup and the mustard. So we're going to add in a little bit of agave. Not too much, just a little bit. Add a little bit of sweetness to it. Then we're going to add in some water. You can start with just a little bit and work your way up. So here we go. Just a little bit of water in there. All right, that should be perfect. About halfway up on the pine nuts, and we'll blend. If it's not enough, we'll add more, and we'll add the rest of our ingredients. So let's add the top on. This is a Ninja blender. If you're wondering, you can use whichever blender you fancy. Definitely try to get a high-speed blender so that your pine nuts become nice and creamy. So we'll add that on the blender, and we'll blend it up. This is sauce number 1 of 2. So we're gonna pour our sauce in here, and then we're gonna mix in the rest of our ketchup and mustard and our pickles, and that's gonna give us a secret sauce. So here's some ketchup. Here's some yellow mustard. You can use Dijon mustard as well. I like yellow mustard. It just works really well in the secret sauce. So here's some mustard. And we'll scoop that out of there. So we've got ketchup, we've got mustard, we've got those blended up pine nuts, we've got that amazing garlic powder, onion powder, paprika. Then we're gonna add in some of this chopped up dill pickle. This is dill pickle, which I've chopped up, and that's gonna go in there as well. That's gonna give it a little bit of vinegary taste and a little nice saltiness to it. So we're adding in this dill pickle. So we've got dill pickle, mustard. As you can see, we got dill pickle, mustard, and ketchup, yellow mustard, regular ketchup, and some dill pickle, which I chopped up inside with that mixture of, look at that, oh yes. Look at that nice color we get there as we stir that around. This is my secret sauce. It's so delicious. It's creamy. It's so much flavor. A little sweet from the agave, a little salty, a little garlicky, a little oniony, nice and mustardy. And we all know we all love ketchup. So this looks really awesome. Look at that. You've probably seen secret sauces similar to this before, special sauces, whatever they call it, but it's an awesome, amazing sauce. This is gonna go perfect on top of Mario's chickpea burger. It's gonna add so much flavor to it, and that's what I'm a big fan of, is flavor, and we're bringing the flavor today. Next, we're gonna make our spicy mayo. This is one of my favorites. Also, starting with pine nuts. I've got some pine nuts and a little bit of sea salt in here, and we're gonna add in some sriracha. So, depending on your tolerance for heat, that will determine how much sriracha you wanna use. I like it a little bit spicy, so we'll use a little bit more sriracha than usual, but we'll just put that sriracha in there. we're gonna balance out the heat with agave again, a little bit of sweetness to balance out the spiciness. Again, depending on your tolerance for heat, that should dictate how much sriracha we use. Now we're gonna add a little bit of agave, and we're gonna add in a little bit of water. Same sort of concept, add just enough water in so that it'll get creamy, not too much water so that it isn't water. So now we'll take the top, we can use the same top, and we will blend. Again, sea salt, agave, sriracha, and pine nuts. So simple, guys, so simple. Now you have two sauces. You have spicy mayo, one of my favorites, a little bit spicy, a little bit sweet, a little salty. Then you have this awesome secret sauce, which has got that ketchup, that yellow mustard, just bursting with flavor. Both these complement each other so well. You can put them on both sides of the bun and you'll be good to go. And talking about buns, we're about to do that as well. So there we go, we've got our nice spicy mayo. Now let's add in we've got spicy mayo and we've got secret sauce. Now let's add in some onions and some mushrooms into the oven. We're gonna caramelize our onions and soften and juicy mushroom. That's what we're going for. We're gonna make these mushrooms super juicy and tender. So let's take the onions and let's take the mushrooms, let's place them on a baking sheet and let's place them in the oven at 450 degrees preheated. So here we go, here's the onions. We'll just lay these out. This is a sweet onion, which I cut into circles. Pretty simple, just slice the sweet onion and tossing it on here, spreading it out. Really easy to do, it takes you a couple minutes and you get these caramelized, delicious, sweet onions. So we'll take these, we'll place them in here. Then we'll take our mushrooms. These are cremini mushrooms. You can use any mushrooms, white mushrooms, cremini mushrooms, any sort of mushroom that you fancy. I like the cremini, they're also known as baby bellas, small, premature portobello mushrooms. That's what they are. Okay, so we'll take the rest of these baby bellas and we'll add them on there. And then we'll take this tray, that's sweet onion and mushrooms, and we're gonna place that in the oven, 450 degrees, on top of some parchment paper, some awesome toppings, super simple and super delicious. And now we gotta make the buns. Let's do some whole wheat buns, toss them in a pan. You can use gluten-free as well if you like, and we're gonna make them nice and toasty. So let's turn on the stovetop and let's make some buns. We're gonna toast some buns. Yep, toasted buns. No one make any jokes about that. All right, guys, we got it. All right, we're gonna throw in some buns. So I've got our 2 whole wheat buns, then we'll top them with our spicy mayo. We'll top them with our secret sauce. We'll put on some caramelized onions, some roasted mushrooms, a little bit of sliced fresh avocado on top of your chickpea burgers, Mario. That's a pretty good deal, huh? Everything is vegan, everything is healthy, fresh, simple ingredients, nothing with preservatives, nothing with added sugars, just real good, wholesome food that's gonna make you feel better, live longer, and this is all about the VegFest. If you guys wanna learn about more recipes just like this, both these sauces on the Produce Section Challenge app, there's thousands of sauces on there. It's on the Apple App Store and on the Google Play Store. Make sure to check it out, Produce Section Challenge. Search it, download it. Guys, there is so many recipes. It's gonna change your life, whole food, plant-based, all vegan, all gluten-free, all amazing. So that's a Produce Section Challenge. Also have a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Produce Section Challenge, or you can check me out at facebook.com/MarleyFicalora. Both those are great resources for you to get healthy while eating a plant-based diet. Okay, we're gonna make our buns now that I've plugged. We're gonna throw some whole wheat buns on a stovetop. I don't use any oil. These will still become nice and crispy, and that's what we're going for. We want that little bit golden brown exterior on them and get nice and crispy. Look at this secret sauce. I'm just over here looking at this secret sauce. Look at this amazing secret sauce, guys. Again, yellow mustard, ketchup, pickles, so much goodness in this secret sauce. We'll layer that on top of a bun, and we've got our spicy mayo too. It even comes out with that spicy mayo color. And our sliced avocado. This is one avocado, perfect, green, fresh, ripe, ready to be eaten avocado. So we've got our buns going on the stovetop. We've got our onions and our mushrooms going in the oven. We're gonna wait for those to finish, and then we'll be ready to eat. I'm excited, guys. Wow, what an amazing meal. Toppings are so important. It's where you really can layer on all the flavor. You wanna use different flavors, different seasonings. So much comes down to the seasoning. Onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, all these different things, mustard seed, they can really lend to bring out a lot of flavor. There are so many options, and there will never be a day when you're vegan that you will lack flavor. I think it's the opposite. I think when people go vegan, they actually get more flavor. It's like opening up your senses. It's like opening up your taste buds and tasting things you didn't even realize were out there. I have eaten more fruits, more vegetables, tried more flavors than ever in my entire life since I went vegan, so I can't emphasize that enough. Flavor is here, guys. This is Flavor City, this is Flavor Town, this is Flavor whatever you want to call it. But being vegan does not limit the food you eat. If anything, it expands it and makes it so you can eat more flavorful and more delicious meals than ever. If you don't believe me, try one of these sauce, guys. We'll be licking the blender clean. Okay, so we've got our buns going, getting nice and toasty on the stovetop. You can see that's oil-free. Oil is 120 calories per tablespoon, so I do not use oil. I emphasize, if you want to lose weight, guys, you gotta toss the oil. It's the most caloric-dense food. Oil, I'm talking about olive oil, canola oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. It doesn't matter what word you put or what fruit or nut you put in front of the word oil. If it has the word OIL, oil, it's 120 calories per tablespoon, and that's gonna add up so quickly. Think about if we put oil in this pan right now. These buns would soak that up. You'd be looking at 400, 600,000 calories just in oil on your buns alone. That's why it's so important that you cook everything oil-free. Nothing sticks. You saw we just used parchment paper. No oil on the sheet when we baked in the oven. And now we're using oil-free just to do the buns on the stovetop. Both will come out incredible. The buns will be nice and crispy and delicious. You can see they're getting a nice char mark as we're looking for, that nice golden color that we're so accustomed to. And nice, look at that, beautiful, beautiful coloring we're getting on our buns. All right, let's grab a bun. Let's toss our sauce on top. There we go. We've got our bun. We've got our sauce. Let's hit it with some sauce, guys. Here's our secret sauce. And then we'll use our other bun and we'll do some spicy mayo. We'll spread that on there. And here you've got secret sauce, spicy mayo, avocado, and then you just toss on your onions and you toss on your caramelized onions and mushrooms, and you throw on your chickpea patty. And I'm telling you guys, this will burst with flavor. So that's it. That is spicy mayo, that's secret sauce, that's grilled onions, and that's grilled mushrooms with avocado. The perfect toppings on a whole wheat bun for Mario's Burgers. Thank you, VegFest LA. Thank you everyone for watching this. I hope you enjoy this. Again, Produce Section Challenge and Facebook.com/MarleyFicalora. See you guys soon.
Okay, Marley, that was great. That was a video he sent, and his schedule didn't allow him to be here today. And we hate to make, but we have a whole great list of people. Jane Velez and the New Day new chef guests are going to be about to do something. So, but again, because of this technology, I've got to go find the link, start the Zoom meeting, which I'm doing right now. And as soon as I get that up and running, then I will move it over. So we're going to give away another T-shirt. Okay, another T-shirt and hat combo to the first person. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10, and if you can tell me what that is, then the first one on Facebook, the first one on YouTube, can guess the number I'm thinking in my head, then you get a T-shirt. So let me get over here, and I'm going to make Jane and the gang live. I just got to click here and then click 6 more times, and then after that I click again, and oh my God, hey, here we go. Let's move it over here. Hey, Jane, how are you?
I'm great, Billy. Thank you so much. And I'm here with this incredible, fantastic panel from the new hit vegan cooking show on Amazon Prime, which is A New Day, New Chef. And I am so excited to have some of these amazing chefs and just extraordinary people. We are from all walks of life, us plant-based folk. And so you're going to get to meet them all right now. So why don't we start with just naming everybody. We got Chef Babette Davis of Stuff I Eat restaurant in Inglewood, an amazing woman who is 69 years and has the body of a teenager. Sorry, is that okay? Politically correct to say these days? We've got badass vegan over here, Jane Elizabeth. She's a rebel runner. She lost 80 pounds when she went vegan, and now she's a super, super marathoner. We've got Jane Elizabeth, and we're back again with Jane Elizabeth because my head just went into a loop. And we've got Simone Reyes, who's a country star and who has recorded many amazing songs and who is a leader in the vegan movement. We have got, and I am a total fan, Gianna Simone of Star Trek Into Darkness. Woo! Hello, darling. We've got the one and only Dotsie Bausch, who is not only an Olympian, the star of Game Changers. She's got an incredible campaign, Switch for Good, she's going to tell you about. we've got Elizabeth Alfano, who is our plant-based business hour anchor, who is absolutely amazing. And we have Carissa Krantz, who is a vegan from birth attorney, who has the Laws That Matter show on Jane Unchained. And we have Melissa Breslow, who was on the board of VegFest LA and who is an incredible yoga practitioner with the one male, her husband, Kyle. And last but not least, the absolutely amazing and super, just, you are so funny and fascinating to me because you are so polite and soft-spoken and compassionate in real life, and then you're punk rock star by night, and your music videos are so intense. The one and only Otep Shamaya. So welcome, ladies. You know what, Chef Babette, I want to start with you. What was it like as a chef and a vegan restaurant owner to be on New Day, New Chef?
Oh my gosh, it was so, this set is just amazing. That particular day, it was just flawless. Everything just went exactly like it was supposed to go. And I could not believe how great we all looked on the show. It was amazing. Jane, I just absolutely love the show. I love the setup. Everybody that I turn on to the show, they absolutely love it. I was just really, really happy to be a part of it. Thanks so much.
Yes. And I would say that we're going to try to share the screen a little bit. Dotsie Bausch, you are an Olympic medalist, and you came on and you made Superwoman Bowl, which I know you're very modest. So you were like, oh, I'm not a superwoman, but own it, lady. You're a superwoman. You are a superwoman. Talk about that, Dotsie.
Maybe on a bicycle, but not in the kitchen. So all I know is how to make bowls. That's like the extent of my talent. And you named it the Superwoman Bowl, but it does have a gazillion antioxidants, right? Which we know increase our blood flow, which is why it's so fantastic for performance and recovery. And we massaged kale. We did the blender dance. I mean, I had a blast. I was absolutely scared to death because I am not a chef. This is New Day, New Chef. But we had a great time, and gosh, you had some incredible real chefs on. I've watched almost every episode, so congratulations.
Oh, well, please, congratulations to everybody. I'm going to try to screen share this. Everybody can see New Day, New Chef, and hopefully you're checking this out. This is the set, and this is us doing the blender dance, and we really showcased so many incredible. There's John Sally, Lori Allen, there's Babette, there's Dotsie Bausch. So it was really a lot of fun, and you can watch this New Day, New Chef on Amazon Prime. It's free for Amazon Prime members, and it's a 100% vegan cooking show. We had such fun. Honestly, I think this calls for a little group blender dance, don't you?
Yeah.
Come on, baby. Oh, wow. Gianna, you're working it. So, Gianna, you made a dessert, which was fabulous. Tell us about that.
Yes, they were raw pumpkin truffles, gluten-free,
Ooh,
raw.
yeah.
And I used organic ingredients. And they took, 15 minutes to make, and you just pop them in the refrigerator and pop them in your mouth and enjoy them. They're amazing. They're one of my favorite desserts. So yeah, just head on over to the show and check it out, and maybe everybody else can make them as well.
Absolutely. And Jane Elizabeth, your story was so amazing because you have, look, I've always struggled with my weight. I've never met a dessert that I didn't like, but you really have shown how you can transform on a vegan diet with 2/3 of Americans overweight or obese. You really are telling the story that people need to hear, Jane.
Yeah, thanks, Jane, for bringing that up. And yeah, I mean, I was in this place where, I could either stay where I was and continue on with limiting beliefs and unhealthy habits and pass that on to my daughter, or I could make the decision to be the last person in my family, to live that cycle. So I chose to break the cycle. And the first thing that I wanted to do was align my behavior with my beliefs and go vegan for the animals. That's why I did it. I didn't do it for the health benefits. I did it for the animals.
Wow.
Health benefits have been so amazing. And I have to say, Dottie's going to talk about this later, but ditching dairy made the biggest impact on my health. My chronic asthma completely went away. So I was able to go from not even being able to run a mile to running marathons. I mean, this is so over like 18 months, I lost over 80 pounds. And I love telling that story because it does resonate with people, particularly moms. But, you know, it started off just aligning my behavior with my beliefs and going vegan for the animals. You know, eating them never resonated well with me. I've always loved animals. So that was really liberating to be able just to take that violence off of my plate and start living the life I always knew I was supposed to live. And now I can pass that down to my daughter. That's the great thing is, you know, we're creating this world we want to see, a violence-free world. Most people want to. We want to live in a violence-free world, but it's almost impossible to do that when we have violence on our plates and we're ingesting that violence. So that's a really, really great place to start. So every single step in that direction, I think, is a fantastic step, and it's worth celebrating. There's so much beauty in that progress and in the process.
Well, Dotsie Bausch, can you tell us about the Switch for Good campaign that you're running?
Sure. Yeah. It started really out of just a frustration and a sadness. For so many years, I trained, at the Olympic training centers of both Colorado Springs and Chula Vista, and the cafeterias were just inundated with dairy. They had actual recovery bars that only had dairy foods on them. Not everyone knows that the United States Olympic Committee is in bed with the Milk Pet Board. Milk Pet Board is their main sponsor. And so I just would, when I went plant-based, which is just a couple years out from Olympics, all of a sudden I'm seeing the world with different lens on, like all of us, are now. And I just thought, man, why aren't they looking out for the best interests of the athletes and bringing in, unbiased research, right? We were just fed all the research from the dairy funded research into the dietitians, the nutritionists, and this is what they were teaching us. And it was as if there was no other food that a human being could possibly recover from, except for, the breast milk from a cow, which then of course by that point with me, just like, that's the stupidest, craziest thing I've ever heard of. So after retiring from the Olympics, I just felt this desire and this real fervor to stand up and tell the truth, to just sort of unravel that false narrative that we've been taught forever, right? Since we were little, not only athletes, but everyone, right? Got milk, the milk mustache built with chocolate milk. And this has all been fed to us, right, by the very people who will profit off of it. So that's how we got started, and we have a plethora of different campaigns going on. Right now, we have made up 25% of all total comments into the U.S. dietary guidelines, asking them to please remove dairy as a food group for humans. Oh. So we're pretty pumped about that right now. If they don't do it, I'm going to file a lawsuit, because when 118 million Americans, a quarter of us say this is not a health food, it's making 36% of us sick, because 36% of Americans are completely intolerant to dairy and can't properly digest it. I think that's enough voices that they need to take action.
So let me ask you, Elizabeth Alfano, you do a plant-based business report on Jane Unchained, and you have interviewed some of the top business leaders now. Do you see the situation changing? Because Captain Paul Watson just said earlier today on another interview that we're going to run out of fish. There's going to be no fish left in the sea. We're overfishing them to death. So how is that good for the fishing industry? And now, the slaughterhouses are wildly infected with coronavirus, and workers are being told to go to their desks so that somebody can eat a hot dog or a meat burger when there are vegan alternatives. And one of the biggest meat producers, the biggest meat producer, JBS, has come out with a plant-based food line. Do you see them hitting the wall and throwing up their hands and finally saying, okay, we'll switch to healthier, cholesterol-free, lower carbon footprint, less slaughter, less violence, less pandemic food?
I do, not for the reasons that you would like, which is animal welfare reasons. I don't think they're doing it for that. They're doing it because there's more money to be made with plant-based food. If you look, as we go from a population of 7.7 billion to 10 billion people, you're getting all those more people, but you're not getting more land and you're not getting more water. So from a business perspective, you're running out of the resources that you need to do animal agriculture in the old-fashioned, out of step, no longer serves us as an inefficient business model, does not have the purpose that one could argue it did 100 years ago. I wouldn't argue that, but one could. You have no argument for it today. So I think you're going to see wonderful as Gen Z and millennials and all of us, of course, get into the consumer advocacy, but you're also going to see major corporations hopping on, because there was the IPO of Beyond Meat last year, 2019. That kind of woke everybody up, and they realized that there's a lot of money to be made here, and they need to do it fast. Probably won't be as fast as we would like, because there are business issues with scaling up and new technologies and investing more into their plants to change their product lines. But it is going to happen quickly because they're running out of resources.
Wow. Okay, Melissa Breslow, you and your husband cook together, and so that shows that a compassionate couple that cooks together is a fabulous fun couple. What did you make, and why do you feel that this is the food of the future, and that we are almost at tipping point right now? As our food system breaks down, and when I say food system breaks down, it's pretty much the meat system is breaking down, not the entire food system. If we took the meat and the dairy out, our food system would be absolutely functioning very well.
The future has to be vegan, or we will have no future. It's the scientific truth. It's the proof is there. It's really scary, and it's so important that we connect with the earth and know that we are one with the earth, and that we have to love the earth as we do ourselves, and take care. And so every choice we make has to be considering that we have over 7 billion people. And so all together, we need to make choices that have a better way, which means no more animal products. As we all are saying here, it's using all of our resources, it's a waste, and it's making people sick at the same time. So for every reason, we need to change. For the animals, we love animals. People give all their attention to animals. And for our planet, for all our resources, for the future, and for our health. Look at Dotsie, she's amazing. So many amazing athletes.
Look at Dotsie, there she is.
Changer, I love that. And Kyle, it really inspired him as well, because I was vegan before him. And so women, there's hope, ladies. You can show them in a loving, compassionate way. We really struggled with that, but he finally saw it. We went to LA Animal Save. We saw the animals, and he's on board, and he's an athlete. He's amazing.
All right. Listen, I've saved two of my favorite people for last. Not that you're not all my favorite people, but Simone is a very dear friend. We must talk every day, comparing notes on this unusual time. And there's the amazing Otep Shamaya. Otep, you always seem to get to the crux of the matter. So what do you think? Where are we? Because yesterday I did a long panel discussion with Dr. Silas Rao, who says this is the beginning, and his goal is to have a vegan world by 2026. And he said Mother Nature stepped in and has accelerated the whole thing, that we are seeing the beginning of the vegan revolution right now. It looks kind of messy. It doesn't necessarily look like it's going in one direction perfectly. We have setbacks, but that the fact that it started in a wet market, a slaughterhouse in China, that's what most of the experts, almost all of them, agree on, despite conspiracy theories. The fact that other zoonotic diseases obviously stem from our abuse of animals, usually in the food system. The fact that coronavirus has invaded the slaughterhouses, and workers are sick and dying, and they're being told by the Trump administration, you got to go in there and do this because you're critical and you're essential, even if you're dying and you have no recourse because you're critical infrastructure. So if you walk away to save your life or save your family's life, we don't care. Now it's become a workers' rights issue, a human rights issue, a civil rights issue. Otep.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't know if that was from Simone. Agreed on every point made. And I don't think that there could be any other way for it not to be this messy, or this, because people like, Paul McCartney's famous phrase, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, everybody would be vegan. We're seeing that now in a much different way, because most of these large pandemics are all caused from zoonotic diseases, which jump from animals to humans. And we've seen that throughout at least the Common Era, with even, the bubonic plague jumped from, rats to humans as well. So we're going to have, I think we're going to see a large portion of the population start choosing meat alternatives. It's going to be, I get that question a lot. If you're a vegan, why do you still eat things that are supposed to take the place of meat? And my response is, well, I was raised on meat, So it's a good way to transition off of meat for those who are still consider themselves quote unquote carnivores, which biologically we're not. No matter how many times people try to make that argument, I desperately try to convince people that listen, if you can go to the savannah and you can hunt down a zebra on foot and bring it down with your mouth and take its life and then be able to chew the hide, the hair, and then digest all of that raw material, and then have the proper gut microbes and gut flora in order to digest that without having any problems, then sure, you're carnivore. Otherwise, you're not. They say, well, what about our large, we have these large canines. Well, the largest, gorillas are vegan. They have large canines. Hippopotamuses have gigantic canines and they're vegans. I think, it's for the, I don't call him, I call him Resident Chump because he's not my president. So for him to send people back to work in factories and not forcing the owners of those factories, the slaughterhouses, they call them factories, that's not what they really are, slaughterhouses. When he's sending these people back into the slaughterhouses and not compelling the CEOs of those slaughterhouses to provide extra care for workers, even though they already work in an extremely disgusting, diseased, and infectious place, but by not providing them any extra protections to protect them against coronavirus, that's not about nutrition. It's not about making sure that there's not a food shortage. It's just about money, and it's about the economy. And I think a lot of people are seeing through that. And someone earlier mentioned about the skyrocketing stock market on meat alternatives, and we've seen a lot of people do that as well. I mean, I know carnivores who invested in it and are taking advantage of it, but they're also changing their diets based on this. And the more that we can expose this and fight back the lies that it's based on 5G or that it's some kind of just a seasonal flu, which it's not, because we've already surpassed seasonal flu numbers in 3 months, whether it takes like 7 months to get to these horrible numbers. Also, that this pandemic is occurring in places where there isn't 5G, and people that also have 5G, you don't have it. So it's not what they're trying to do. I think people need this kind of conspiracy theories because it's not like there's an actual enemy we can see. This is something that is invisible and we don't know when we can get it. So it comforts them somehow psychologically to be able to blame it on some kind of vast conspiracy. Well, the vast conspiracy is the ineptitude and the inaction of the Trump administration. When they had the chance to stop this virus early on, they didn't, and they knew about it. And the fact that it did come from a wet market, the fact that we still have wet markets even in America. I'm in Los Angeles. I didn't even know this until recently. Our good friend Simone Reyes just pointed this out to me like a month ago, that we actually have one here in Chinatown. As soon as this quarantine is over, that's one of the first places I'm going to, and I'll do my very best to shut them down. And I'm pretty good. I have a good track record at shutting things down that I don't like.
So thank you, Otep. Now, Simone, you often see the big picture, and I know you've been doing a lot of thinking because you haven't left your house in 2 months.
I checked the mail though. I went to go check the mail twice.
Okay, so you go check the mail, but the mail's right out.
Right outside my door.
Yeah. So you've had a lot of time to think. Where do you think this is going? Do you agree with Dr. Rao that this is the beginning of the vegan revolution? I know you recorded a song, Go Vegan Go, that is about the vegan revolution. Is this going to make the consumption of meat and dairy products essentially untenable? People forced to see that these animals are killed. They call it depopulation when they're killed because they can't kill them in the slaughterhouses. So it's really revealing from a workers' rights perspective, an animal rights perspective, an environmental perspective. It's a bleep show. Animal agriculture is destroying us.
And an economic perspective.
Go ahead, Simone.
Well, we can only hope, we bring it right down to children, right? If they touch a stove and it's hot and they burn their hand, what do? They pull it off. And you do that enough times as a child, if you have to, what do? You learn from that, right? So this is not our first time learning about pandemics, right? All of these pandemics have come pretty much from animals, from anthrax to West Nile to avian flu, to the Spanish flu, to the swine flu, to mad cow disease, to Salmonella, E. coli, I mean, like Ebola, it goes on and on and on. So our hands are quite burned, right, historically from this. So we have to hope that we've come to a place in history where people say enough is enough. All right, we know where these viruses are coming from. We know that the way to stop them isn't just closing down the wet markets, but to change the way that we as humans are treating animals. And because of our abuse of animals, historically, we've come to this place. So yes, it's great that our group social compassion legislation has 2 bills now, one to shut down the wet markets in New York, where there's about 81 if you add in slaughterhouses. That's in America. So all this talk about China, that's in New York. 81. Okay, out here in California, we have a number of them as well. So it's fantastic that we're trying to do legislation to stop this, but really it comes back to each and every one of us making the conscious decision to not live unconsciously and say, enough is enough. I want to be able to raise my children and future generations in a sustainable earth. And what does that mean? It means that we simply have to stop using animals. And if we're using animals, we're abusing animals. Okay, there's really no way, we can talk ourselves into any scenario, but the truth of the matter is that our abuse of animals had a karmic effect, and we're living it right now. And that's why we're doing this VegFest from our homes, safe in our homes, but in our homes. This has to stop. And I do believe that we've actually reached a tipping point, whether it's, because people suddenly care about animals, care about their own health, care about the health of the earth, or it forces them to, because guess what? There's not going to be an earth unless we change the way that we're living.
I agree. And Carissa Krantz, you are, first of all, vegan from birth. You are a super lawyer, and you have recently used your legal skills to take action versus slaughterhouses and wet markets. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, I filed a petition for rulemaking in New York to try to shut down these live animal markets. And what a petition for rulemaking would do is it would be a moratorium for 90 days to try to shut them down while legislation is written and hopefully passed, or while some other legal action or rule could be proposed. It would be kind of like an executive order, which the governor did acknowledge receipt of the petition for rulemaking. But in New York, unlike federally, if you file a petition for rulemaking federally, there's a required agency response. But on the state level, there's not always a required agency response. But in New York, there's a Senate bill that's proposed that is currently sitting in the Senate that says that there is a required agency response if you have 100 or more New York resident signatures. So I worked with Nina, Lady Freethinker, to get the signatures and submit the formal petition. And who knows? Apparently, it's with the Department of Agriculture right now in New York. And I think it's important that we're all hitting it from different angles. There's legislation being drafted. There's people who are taking the streets on it. There's the media that's finally covering it. And it's fine. It's about time that our news is mainstream news. And then the way I'm attacking it could have an immediate effect, because legislation and other legal actions could take, as we know, years. I'm a lawyer. Litigation could take years. So if they want to honor it, it could be immediate. And then after 90 days, they can extend it another 60 days and another 60 days after that. And these wet markets are across the United States.
Yeah, it's incredible that you're taking that legal action on your own as an attorney. I mean, that's really extraordinary. Yeah. And by the way, I want to say that a lot of the women on this panel have their own shows on Jane Unchained News Network. But now that I'm looking at everyone, you're all invited. You would all be incredible. Like, I would love Gianna and Dotsie and Otep and all the rest of you have shows. And Melissa, you do a lot of lunch break lives, but you are entitled. You should have a show. So anybody, it's like Oprah. You have a car. You've got a show. You've got a show. You've got a show. So anybody who wants a show, we have a way to use a new platform called StreamYard that allows you to have up to 5 guests, 6 guests, and stream to 5 platforms, and it's real fun. And so let me know. We'd love to let you have a show. Now, Chef Babette has a show with her manager, Tara, on Sundays, I believe. And so I want to ask you something. You run a restaurant, Stuff I Eat in Inglewood. I was talking to LULAC, which is the largest Latin American civil rights organization in the United States, and they're outraged that their workers are being forced to go and basically potentially die and infect their families so somebody can eat a non-essential item that's actually cancer causing, like a sliced turkey sandwich or a sliced beef sandwich or a bacon. But one of the things he said that freaked me out is he said, you know, the workers now are being put with these protective masks and they're sweating on the food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already gross that, you know, essentially 100% of ground beef, when the Consumer Report studied it, had germs. But, you know, as somebody in a restaurant business, what's your reaction to that?
First of all, I don't know how people are still eating the meat when you've got all of these workers ill with coronavirus. I don't even know how you'd want to continue ingesting it. Fortunately enough, we were able to remain open, cut back some hours, but you'd be amazed at the number of people. Our numbers are inching up and up and up. It was about maybe 2.5 weeks that it was real soft, and then all of a sudden customers coming back, missing the vegan food. And I'm really happy about that, because I just really think that what we need is humans need a shift in the way that they're thinking. They need to think about what it is they're consuming. And I think that's a major problem with us. We don't think about what we're eating. We can pick up a box of food with chemicals, 2 and 3 paragraphs of chemicals, and we eat it anyway, and we don't even know what it is. So I just think that, you know, if you think about ingesting another being, you're ingesting pus, you're ingesting blood, you're ingesting mucus, you're ingesting toxins. But who really thinks about that when they're eating? Nobody really thinks about that. They're just used to eating and they just eat. But if you can actually hear that you've got people, all these people ill and dying at meat packing plants from coronavirus, and they're touching hands on this flesh
and sweating on the food
and sweating on it, and you would still ingest it. That's something with the human psyche. We're kind of jacked in that area, because nobody could pay me any amount of money to want to ingest that.
Oh my God.
So I don't know.
And they're in diapers.
Oh yeah, tell them about
diapers.
Yeah, they were adult diapers. This has been
so
going.
They don't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, because they don't have bathroom breaks. And this Oxfam produced this report, but nobody really paid attention to it until the whole slaughterhouse worker issue came up. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly Oxfam's report got attention, and the headlines are, you know, slaughterhouse workers have to either urinate in their pants or wear adult diapers and urinate into their diapers because they're not given bathroom breaks. So it's gross from head to toe. So I want to ask Elizabeth Alfano, you have stats on how vegan options are going up first quarter 2020, which is obviously when this pandemic has occurred.
Yeah, so first quarter 2020, the plant-based options are growing. They've actually come in to sort of save the day, if you will, when there have been meat shortages. But I think what's even more important than that, because you can see consumers seeing through the lies that we're talking about right here. I think Chef Babette, some people don't want to eat that meat, that maybe before they were eating meat and they were okay with it. But a lot of people are seeing through the slaughterhouse issues and what's happening, and they don't want meat. So you're seeing consumer interest rise. But here's what's more important. And here's what to me says this is going to be a long-standing shift. In Q1 2020, investment into new plant-based businesses was up 11% over all of 2019. So in one quarter, we have out-invested all of what we did last year by 11%. That tells me, and those investors most likely are carnivores, that tells me that people see that this is not a sustainable option. Meat is out, and that we need a shift, and that we need a solution. And the only solution there is to a safe and secure future is plant-based food.
Oh, obviously, yeah. And I heard that Jim Cramer even said, listen, with all these slaughterhouse workers dying, and maybe we should just eat a Beyond Meat burger. Jim Cramer, who epitomizes the, greed is good, Wall Street mentality, when he's saying it, That's pretty amazing, Dotsie. I think we should just do a roundtable and just ask everybody, where do you see us in a year as far as our plant-based movement? We all obviously don't have a crystal ball. We're all speculating, and let's see what comes up. Start with Dotsie.
I know, and Marco Rubio also said we're all just going to have to go a little bit vegan. Yeah. So we'll take a little bit versus the whole thing. Right? It's a good start. The other thing that I think that we're going to see as we move along in the next year, obviously a huge rise in the distribution and the purchasing of plant-based, and definitely the investments. But I think we're really starting to see the environmental movement starting to grasp for the first time in 50 years. This was the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And of course they did virtual Earth Day. Normally it was going to be on the DC Mall, right in front of, 600,000 people. So April 20th, we did virtual Earth Day. And there was quite a bit of, this was the first time, let me just say, that they ever brought in the conversation about animal agriculture and its pressure on the planet. In 49 years, they never brought it up, not a peep. So this year they did. We sent them some content, an environmental PSA that we made, and the power plate and other content. Great, awesome, okay. Well, guess what happened? The content from that day was everything, right? It was fossil fuels, it was plastics, it was the youth climate strike, and it was some plant-based stuff, and among other things. The plant-based content got over 7 million impressions in just 24 hours. It was the top of all of the content that they shared that day. So we're finally starting to see, when the environmental movement takes shape around this, I think we're really, really going to take off, in addition to what's, coronavirus is shaping the future like, none of us would have ever been able to do. But that's what I'm seeing in the environmental space. And I think once they really wrap their arms around this and start to take action, that's what it's going to take, right? Not just like it, but take action. We're going to see big changes.
That is extraordinary. And I applaud you, because we've all, I don't know, a lot of us, I certainly have, tried to get to the environmental movement and wake them up about, if you're an environmentalist, you shouldn't eat animals. It's a leading cause of climate change, habitat destruction, wildlife extinction. If you're a humanitarian, it's the leading cause of human world hunger. If you're a health proponent, it's the leading cause of preventable and reversible diseases, yada, yada, yada. But the environmentalists, if you're a feminist, they rape all the animals into existence, they steal their babies. But if you're an environmentalist, it's such a clear connection with the climate change issue. And I had run into a brick wall repeatedly. So I am so glad you through. Let's hear for Dottie.
Well, it's everyone.
But honestly,
it was cool to see that reaction from them, for sure.
It's like whoever can catch that ball and run to the end zone, I mean, without getting tackled, that's a cause for celebration. I can't believe I just used a football analogy. I've never watched football game in my entire life. Okay, Melissa Breslow, what do you see in a year? We're here in a year. May 17th, 2021. Where is society when it comes to plant-based?
I see that people are now forced to look at what's going on, and there's huge changes. Beyond Meat, all the stocks, all the vegan brands are going to shoot up, and people are going to realize really how disgusting the meat is, and that we don't want dead animal flesh anymore. I'm sick of the euphemisms, call it what it is. And people are changing, and it's everybody's opening their eyes. It's my nonprofit, Open Eyes Foundation. People are starting to see the truth, and it's not a secret anymore. You have to see it. So I see us going leaps and bounds with vegan.
Okay, I love it. From your mouth to God's ear, as they say. Gianna Simone, it's a year from now. It's May 17th, 2021. What do you see as far as the vegan movement?
I was thinking about what to say about this, and sometimes we can lose hope and we can lose faith in our friends and in our world and in people. But I choose to keep breathing life into the situation and to our future. And I'm so proud of every single person on this panel, every single person that's tuning in and watching, because you matter and our decisions matter. And I see people getting educated. There's so much information out there, documentaries. I have a show on Amazon Prime that talks about just like
Gianna, tell us about it.
Yeah, so I want to educate people on what is happening. What are we doing? Why are we getting sick? Why are we in crisis? Why are we in crisis? Why? Right? I want to know the truth, and I want people to know the truth, and I want us to get educated. And once we know better, let's do better. And so I see us getting educated on with everything that's available: documentaries, television shows, channels, people that we know, our loved ones that are trying to help us. Just educate yourself. I really recommend that everybody just try to educate themselves and do better. So I see a lot of education happening in
Fabulous. I want to give a shout out to Gianna Simone because none of the New Day, New Chef would have happened without her. And Countdown to Year Zero. She's the one who helped Jane Unchained get these shows on Amazon Prime. So let's hear it for Gianna.
Oh, thanks, guys. I love you all.
Amazing. You are a wonderfully generous person and kind. And I'm so grateful. I will always be grateful to you. Thank you.
Right back at you, Jane.
Yes. Okay. Well, but seriously, you really made it happen. So who's next? All right. How about we're going to bounce around a little bit. Simone Reyes, what do you see exactly a year from now?
Well, like you said, we don't have a crystal ball, but what we do have is the power to manifest how we want the world to be in a year from now. So to be realistic, do I think that we'll be back to normal in a year from now? I don't. However, that can actually work in our favor if we use the tools that we have and make it so. So what does that mean? That means that we might be going to drive-in movies or drive-in concerts. That's fine. But for the most part, I think that people are going to be getting their entertainment in the same way that we're getting it right now, which is in our homes, safely in our homes, watching Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and a lot on our smartphone phones. So what does that mean? It means that we have such a bigger audience now to introduce them to the world of animal rights. And I feel like in a lot of ways, we should start sort of way in the beginning. You know, if we have a new audience, we don't necessarily have to be showing them every new breaking, investigation. Let's start at the beginning. If it's, Flashback Friday or Throwback Thursday or whatever, let's start to educate this brand new group of eyes that we have and tell them about the Animal Liberation Front. Tell them about how PETA and other groups got started. Tell them about this social justice movement that they want to join because it's the most important social justice movement of our time. So I think that while we don't know exactly where we'll be in a year, I think if we play our cards right, we educate people and we show them about compassion, and we every single animal that is facing these horrible lives and they're living in torture and they're living in pain, and if we really give them a time online where people get to know them, they get to look in their eyes. We may not be able to go and do our save movement in a year from now. Hopefully we will, where we go and we bear witness as animals are going to slaughter. But if we can't, we have so much footage that we can get out there and show. And I want to believe that people have it in their hearts and in their capacity for compassion to actually look in the eyes of these animals that only crime was being born into a world where they are seen as commodities and machines, and be able to turn that around. And I think that taking the quarantine and all of the ways that we're going to be still locked down, I think in a lot of ways in a year from now, and use it for the good of animals is going to bring us to a whole new place in a year.
I love it. Okay, well, we're almost out of time, so I want to hit everybody because I think this is fun to envision what's a year from now. Jane Elizabeth.
Yeah, so I think people are finally starting to see their own power. They are finally able to see that they have the power to create the world they want to see. And that starts with each and every decision they make every single day. So we vote with our purchasing power. So we are seeing this happen in the stock market right now. We're seeing it happen with every single plant-based restaurant that I'm aware of, at least, is just inundated with orders because people are hungry for something better. They want something more. They want a more peaceful world. They want to see more compassion. They want to see less violence. They want to see less killing. And I think this is a really great thing because we all have this power. I think people felt for a long time like they were completely powerless to do anything to change the world, but that's just simply not true. So I think the vegan movement, it is just as much an animal rights movement as it is a humanitarian movement. So this is something that I think is empowering people to realize that they actually can take back that power that has for so long been out of our hands. We can take it back and we can make the world we want. So are we going to have a completely vegan world in a year? No, we're not. But you know what? We're getting there. And it's happening one day at a time, one decision at a time, one purchase at a time, one interaction at a time. So we're going to see lots of progress in a year. And like Simone was saying, you know, we have this amazing opportunity right now. I know it's really tough to be on lockdown, but the thing is, we are reaching people, an audience we never would have had a chance to reach if it wasn't for this lockdown. So we're taking advantage of it. And Simone, I think you found your show right there, like Throwback Thursday or Flashback Friday or something. Like I would love to see that. So I think, you know, we can see all of these things happening and all of these changes. And it starts with taking this opportunity right now to show people what that change looks like and then encouraging them and supporting them along their journey.
All right. Well, we're running out of time. By the way, I want to say Support and Feed is an incredible organization. Supportandfeed.com. You give money to Support and Feed. They give the money to vegan restaurants. The vegan restaurants make the food and deliver it to first responders and people who are struggling and people who are alone and isolated and senior citizens. It's great. You keep the vegan restaurants open and you're also helping all those people who really need it right now. Okay, next up, who are we going to go to? OTEP, what do you see a year from now?
I just want to touch on something, I guess, a little bit of what everybody's been saying. First, I think, first of all, shout out Chef Babette Inglewood. Whoop, whoop. I think that we're going to start it. Purchasing power is our vote, and I think we're going to see that. And I think besides being my music, I also power lift, and I'm seeing a shift in powerlifters who are notoriously, you know, you got to get your protein, shifting to a vegan diet. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, the king, of course, of bodybuilders, he switched to a vegan diet. Something that Simone had said about, you know, educating people. I think that, you know, sometimes people have this, and I think it's because of the meat and dairy lobby. They've painted vegans with a very broad, nasty brush. I think we have to make sure that everybody understands that if you are coming from a carnivore diet and you're slowly trying to move into a vegan diet, I think that it's okay if you make a mistake. You know, vegans should not shun them or make them feel bad or whatever, and say, listen, it's okay if you make a mistake. You can always start over. Where I see the world in a year is, I think that hopefully, if I'm looking at the trends right, it's going to be kind of like how fur is. Some people still wear fur, but yet it's still looked upon as like, why are you wearing fur? I think people that are still going to continue to eat meat, it's going to have the same sort of shameful connotation. It's going to be something that's looked at as someone who's very selfish, and at the same time looked at it at other people as a normalization of getting off of. Listen, my body's not going to be a graveyard for corpses. I'm not going to do that to myself. So I'm going to utilize you know, the nutrition that my body needs and deserves, which is plant-based. And that's where I think the world is going there. And if you can start getting more and more, you know, we got Dottie and everything, and I think we've seen more and more, you know, fantastic vegan athletes who are proving that you don't need meat or meat-based products or animal-based products to be a spectacular athlete. I think you'll start to see it dribble down towards the masses. So let's not be too hard on those who are transitioning, and let's support those who are. And you know, let's just keep up the education, like Simone said. I
love it. And I want to say that Jane Unchained is going to be unveiling a new platform coming up very soon. I'd like all of you to be testers that sign up for it first, but it's going to be a breakthrough platform to connect vegans around the world. So speaking of breakthroughs, you, Carissa, signed up the largest meat producer in the world for their vegan product, and you certified them. And that is showing perhaps more than anything else that they themselves are preparing for a vegan world. So we're almost out of time. We'll give each one of last of you a minute each.
And what's actually funny is you reported on that first as an exclusive. We were excited to announce it because it shows a trend that they're going in the direction of plant-based. And if they could make billions of dollars in plant-based meat, maybe they'll care less about making billions of dollars in slaughtering animals. And it was the same week that news came out on Jane Unchained that JBS is in the news for their slaughterhouse workers dying and having the biggest COVID outbreak. And actually, their marketing department called me and they wanted to hold any other news on the release of their plant-based line because they want to release it where it's all positive and they feel like they're in this mess and they're having a marketing nightmare. But I think it's positive because if they can move, and they're going to have immediate distribution because they already have distribution for meat in stores across the country. They have shelf space. So, and they sent me samples. I have to tell you, I'm a vegan from birth. They're so much like the real thing that it's like scary. This is for the people who are transitioning, like those that want to eat meat, that are used to meat, that don't want to give up meat. That product is for you. They've really mastered. For me, I've never eaten meat. I don't have a taste for it. So it was almost like so real. It was a little scary for me.
Good
but
for
that's
us,
great.
for
It's
our
so
movement,
good.
because
It's
people-
so good for the movement.
I mean, I have a neighbor who ate one meat alternative. He goes, and then he came back and he found another one, not that one, but he goes, this one tastes. So when they find that tastes very much like the real thing, that helps them transition. Last but not least, Chef Babette Davis of Stuff I Eat in Inglewood, and it's one of the most incredible restaurants anywhere. I just want to get your prediction, because what a great way to end with Chef Babette's prediction.
Well, first of all, being the only 70-year-old on the panel, I'd like to just say that the proof is in the pudding. I became vegan at age 40. That's been over 30, how many years, Jane? But anyway, and I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel better than I did when I was 9 years old. So I believe my job is to keep prepping good food and inspiring. People inspire me and I inspire them. And that's what it is. That's how the change happens. We just keep sharing the information and being the results.
All right. Well, I'm going to start weightlifting as soon as this is over.
I want to get my weights right now.
I want that skin.
You will not regret getting active, you guys. And once you go vegan, you have all this energy. You don't even know what to do with it. You can go from being a couch potato to being fueled by potatoes and running marathons. Like, you can totally do it.
I love it. I want to thank all of you. You are my heroes. Kyle, next time it's going to be just you, dude. You, because you got a word edge. I love you too, and you're also my. And so, thank you, everybody. You are my heroes. I just think you, Jane. I just think you're an amazing group. And honestly, everybody on this panel is invited to have their own show. Just text me, and I'll make it happen. And it's fun. You know, you can figure out who you want to interview, and it's kind of like a podcast, but you could show photos and even in some cases videos, and there's banners, and so it is a fun, and you can cross post to your own website. And so everybody watching at home, check out New Day, New Chef on Amazon Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime member, it's free. You can watch all these incredible people make fabulous food that's good for you, the planet, and the animals too. It's a new day. You too can be a new chef. So I think we're going to toss it back to Billy. Billy, are you there, dude?
I am here, Jane, and thank you so much. Oh, I picked the wrong camera.
Thank you, everyone.
Let me go over here because I've got a quick.
Bye, guys. It was good seeing everybody. Bye.
Billy.
And we don't hear them anymore. Great. Anyway, so we are going to give away those air fryers right now. So for those of you who are watching the stream, get ready. Mario's going to pick the winner, and you have 10 words or less on why you deserve and need that air fryer. We're going to give one to a Facebook viewer and one to a YouTube viewer. Those are the two that we've got. And so go now. It might take a day or so for him to get through all of the comments, but we'll work on it and we'll get in touch with you. What we'll do is we'll comment on your comment so you know to look for it, or if you think you won, you can always email us at info@vegfestla.com. And while I'm doing the commercial here, we are not run by a nonprofit organization, which is Towards Freedom. We had no income this year because we didn't have a festival. And we still want to do things throughout the year. If you're enjoying today, we'd like to do more of these live virtual Veg Fests. You can go to our homepage and donate a little bit. That would be great. Every little bit helps. We put it to good use in the organization. Also, let's see, the mailing list is on our homepage as well, vegfestla.org. We can also subscribe to YouTube or Facebook or like us wherever you got. So we have a little visit from Alexandra Paul right now, and let's cut over to her.
Hi, Billy. It's great seeing you. And thank you all for being at VegFest today. I'm Alexandra Paul, and I wanted to tell you about my
So I hope you guys can hear me out there in internet land, and I am just trying to get this. Video has ended. Okay, let me see if I can get back to the same world we were in a minute ago. Live producer. It just wants me to rate the quality. So, okay, my live video has ended. I am still working on this. So if some of you can see me, I may be live on YouTube right now. Looks like I am, a good connection. And hopefully when somebody can send me a text message, let me know if you have it back yet. Audio is on. Check. Okay. So back here, warning, please check the video resolution. But I think I am back on YouTube here. Looks like I am. Now I just got to work with Facebook, and we appreciate your patience here. Let me go. Like I said, I wish I had a second engineer here to help me out. Let's see. Ooh. Go live now. Use Stream Key. Let me try this real quick. I'm going to have to set this up in Minicam. Okay, and now hopefully I'm coming back soon to both. Okay, going live on Facebook. Go live. Here we go. And then I'm going to punch over here to YouTube. And excellent connection. To restart the system. Should be back soon. Believe me, it's a lot of fun for me on this end to have to deal with all this by myself. We got a great team, but with the social distancing, nobody is over here to help me with doing. So I think we are working. It says I got something going on here. If somebody could post in the comments when you see me back, that would be great. And I will check Facebook as well. It looks like I'm up on Facebook again. So if somebody, like I said, could please leave me a comment. Let me know you can see me and hear me out there. The guy that was monitoring Facebook for me had to go to work. So anyway, I hate to. So I'm going to pretend like everything is groovy here. Again. Okay, so I think I'm back now on both formats. Am I back? Asking everybody. Please let me know. Isn't this fun? So, okay, I think we're working again. It's kind of hard to tell and everything, but I'm going back here to this, and I'm going to replay Alexandra's message because she sent us a thing about cauliflower and pudding, believe it or not. Doesn't that sound great? Okay, here's Alexandra.
Hi, Billy. It's great seeing you. And thank you all for being at VegFest today. I'm Alexandra Paul, and I wanted to tell you about my favorite vegetable, cauliflower. I love it because it's yummy and it's healthy. It has amazing cancer-fighting properties, And when you eat it raw, you get the full benefits of sulforaphane, which helps the liver detoxify. Now, eating it raw sometimes can be hard on our digestive system. So if you want to cook it, I have some tips. Firstly, cut the cauliflower and let it sit for 40 minutes to let the enzymes of the sulforaphane come out. If you don't want to wait, then you can also add mustard seeds powder and then cook it right away. Now, the ways I like to cook it are microwave. I like the microwave because it kind of dehydrates it and it makes the flavor of the cauliflower come out. Now, for those of you who are horrified that I use a microwave, you can also roast it. Yum! So just put a little bit of oil and herbs and salt and mix it all up and then put it here and roast it on a high heat. If you're oil free, then you can use a vegetable broth instead of oil. It's so good. If you are a pure eater, you can always, of course, steam with just water. Now, let me tell you the real reason why I wanted to talk about cauliflower. It's because of this, pudding. Pudding. Cauliflower is an amazing thickener. You can put it in your shake, yes. You can put it in soups, yes. But I like to make pudding. This is 1 cup of strawberries, 1 cup of cauliflower, some protein powder, not because I need protein, but because I like the way it tastes. And then if you want to be extra healthy, you can add, I have collards in here, you can add a little kale, a little broccoli, and then turn it on, and it comes out in this great smooth pudding consistency. So enjoy your cauliflower and enjoy VegFest.
All right, that was a cool message from Alexandra. I got a little camera buttons up here. So, hey, we're going to run over. We got Earthling Ed coming up here, and I know you guys are excited about that. I'm going to play. He sent us a video, made it just for us, and let's say hi to Ed.
Hello, VegFest. I hope you're all doing all right. It's kind of a really sad situation that we find ourselves in, even though it's wonderful that the organisers have put on this online event instead, which is just fantastic. And it's lovely to be able to speak to you all through this medium that we find ourselves in. But it's so frustrating that we haven't been able to meet in person and that I've not been able to come to LA and see all of you and meet hopefully lots of you and give a talk like I wanted to at LA VegFest. And I think I want to talk a little bit about kind of why that is really. And of course, the reason why is because of this pandemic and the fact that it's not safe for large groups of people to meet because we have a coronavirus, a novel coronavirus that is killing tens of thousands of people. And it's such a difficult and harrowing time for us to find ourselves in. I mean, for all of us, this has never happened in our lifetimes. The last time something comparable happened was 1918, so 102 years ago now. And of course, the 1918 Spanish influenza, as it's commonly referred to, even though, interestingly, the influenza virus started in the Kansas chicken farm. But the 1918 influenza killed up to 50 million people. And it's scary that we find ourselves in a situation where the previous historical moment that's most comparable to that is something that killed 50 million people. It's quite worrying, isn't it? Obviously, we know that the new novel coronavirus, COVID-19, originated from a wet market in Wuhan. They think it's gone from bats to pangolins and then was given to humans in this wet market. And then the humans in the wet market, of course, spread it all around the world as a consequence. But really what we're talking about is how the exploitation of animals has created this situation that we find ourselves in, how our disregard for non-human animal life has created a virus that is killing so many of us and has done before in the past. Of course, zoonotic infectious diseases are nothing new. And zoonotic infectious disease has been created because we exploit animals. It's also nothing new there either. It's something that's happened throughout history and is only really happening again now because the proliferation of what we do to animals is increasing. I mean, in fact, it's an interesting time that we live in because there was a period of time after the Second World War into the 1950s and 60s where a lot of infectious disease experts were saying that we'd passed the point of having to worry about infectious zoonotic disease. That actually these diseases were a thing of the past, and because we had the miracles of modern medicine and the understanding of the human body now, we didn't have to worry about them anymore. But from the 1980s onwards, what we've seen is a huge increase in the number of outbreaks from zoonotic diseases, particularly things like avian flu and swine flu. Interestingly, what's happened since the 1980s is a huge explosion in the amount of animal farming. And so it's no coincidence that as the amount of animal farming that takes place has increased, the risk and number of outbreaks from zoonotic infectious disease has also increased as a consequence. One good thing that we can take from this situation is often it requires devastating events for us to make change. We can apply that on a personal level, but as a species, we often look back and we can see devastating things that lead to often positive changes. I mean, if we take that 1918 Spanish influenza example, the good thing that came from that is it allowed us to understand viruses a lot more. As a species, we learned a lot from that pandemic. And so what can we learn from this pandemic? Well, we can learn about how we're all interconnected, how we're all interlinked, how the actions that we make in the places of the world where we live have a knock-on effect to people who live on the other side of the world. People we'll never meet, people we'll never hear about, but who can be affected by what we do. On a bigger scale, of course, that applies to climate change as well, doesn't it? And how the effects that we have or the choices that we make as individuals have an effect which affect people all around the world. But even from a pandemic potential, we don't think about it, but when we go into a supermarket and we buy certain products, those products could create a new pandemic. They could perpetuate a system that's responsible for creating diseases that can create pandemics. Of course, I'm referring to animal products in this situation. And so if we can take something good from the scenario we find ourselves in, is that we live in a time where we can have a huge amount of potential, or we have a huge amount of potential to create positive change, right? And the positive change that we can create as a consequence of what we're learning from this pandemic is that how we treat animals has a huge effect on us as a species as well. And it adds an extra argument, a layer of argument to what we already know to be true, which is that veganism has to be the future. It has to be the future because what we do to animals needs to stop from a moral perspective. It needs to stop because of an environmental perspective. And it now needs to stop as well because of the fact that what we do to animals increases the risk of pandemics, which in turn kill tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Because we've been relatively lucky with this COVID-19 pandemic in the sense of it could be much worse. You know, the death rate could be significantly higher. But with the 1918 influenza pandemic, the death rate for that virus was only about 2 to 2.5%. And so for something to have a huge devastating effect on this world, it doesn't need to be a huge killer in terms of its fatality rate. It doesn't have to be something that has like a 10, 15, 20% fatality rate. It can be something that's very low. But importantly, these viruses are created because of what we do. And so I think we can take something positive, which is this is a great time for us to reflect and for us as a society and as a species to change. And so I guess the purpose of what I want to say now is we have an obligation, don't we, to talk about these issues. We have an obligation to keep pushing that vegan message. Normally with VegFest and VegFest layer, any VegFest, it's a great day for us to learn and to eat delicious vegan food and to inspire one another. But we don't have that this year. But what we do have this year is an amazing chance to reflect and an amazing chance to inspire others and to make significant changes and to talk about why we need to do that. And so I think that's what we have to do, because even from our own perspective, we don't want another pandemic in the future. We don't want the disruption in our life, the fear in our life, the anxiety in our life, the political turmoil in our life. None of us want that. And so we can do something every single day to try and alleviate that problem. And that is by being vegan. And if we are already vegan, is to tell other people about why they should be vegan. So I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're enjoying the online VegFest LA. But let's make sure that in the future we never have to have an online VegFest LA again. And we can do that by how we spend our time, both as individuals, but also advocating for how others should live as well. All right, guys, well, I hope you're all safe in California or wherever you are in the world watching this. And I hope you're having a nice day. And I hope that as lockdowns are eased, that we still take those safety precautions and we still look after ourselves and look after our loved ones and, you know, make sure that we're taking the precautions that are necessary. But more importantly, I hope that we can reflect and make changes. I appreciate you watching and have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Earthling Ed. Special message from him. He spoke at the festival last year or the year before and was great. He's just a very inspiring cat. Hey, and we've got Josh Meckel is going to be interviewing Tori Washington next. So again, you get to hang out with me while I go and find the Zoom link, which is, if I was smart, I'd put it right here. And there it is. Let's get them going and allow. Join with video. And then I will, oh, the host will let me in soon. Come on, host, let me in. Okay, and oh, it's joining the meeting. Okay, there it is. And let me switch over here and get you guys up and running. It's kind of a process here. Desktop, app window, and it's Zoom US. And let me see, your beautiful faces are there. Josh, I see you. I see you. Okay, well, you guys take it away and have a good time. Sure. Bye-bye. Oh, shit. We're not getting your audio.
So, how are you doing today, Tori?
Fantastic. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very good. This is a lot of fun. So, just to let everyone know, I'm going to do my best to watch the comment feed. And so, if you have any questions for Tori, ask them and we will get to that at the end. So, what inspired you, Tori, to become a body sculptor and when did you begin?
First and foremost, thank you so much for having me here on this Sunday afternoon, evening for some of you guys. And what inspired me? So I had pretty much been raised in front of cartoons, you know, comic book characters, Superman, Wolverine, those types of things kind of reached out to me. You know, I don't know if you can remember like He-Man, all those type of guys, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, and moving from the US to Jamaica, it was a big transition for myself and my brother. And during that time while living in Jamaica, we kind of were the outcasts of society, per se. Because we spoke differently, we sounded differently, we looked kind of different. You could tell we came from what's considered in a third world country kind of privileged because we were raised more of a middle class in the US. And so when we living there, we were kind of picked up. And so I started working out a little bit with just a big iron weight that my grandfather had because he was an electrician. And he would utilize that big old block of iron to solder equipment, to do electrical work and what have you. And then we came back to the US after living there for some time. And coming back to the US, it was another culture shock because now we were more Jamaican. You know, we were in the culture, we were speaking patois. And then coming to the United States, we had an accent, but a different accent. And now we were picked, here I am being picked on again, now for sounding like an island boy and told to go back to get on your banana boat, go back to Jamaica or whatever. And so it caused me to kind of bottle up this anger inside and wanting to kind of express it in a way, but I just didn't know how, you know, just looking to have a hero. And that's where I started to kind of go back to the superheroes of comic book characters, Superman and Wolverine, but they looked intimidating because, you know, they had the muscle, they had the physique. So I started drawing these guys. And then I ran into or fell upon Arnold Schwarzenegger and seeing him in movies and seeing that his actual movie career started with him being a bodybuilder. And bodybuilding, he was able to sculpt this physique that was considered phenomenal and everybody wanted him to be in front of their camera. And so then he became this icon, this legend, and this inspiration for people from other countries to come to America and now be this big superstar. And so I started to work out and I wanted to compete because I wanted to just follow his path, and it stopped around high school. I was thinking of competing, but it never happened. It didn't happen until about 2009, where I actually stepped on stage for the first time, and this time as a vegan, vegetarian, what have you back then, and I've been doing it ever since.
Got you. What got you into plants?
Well, I was raised vegetarian. I was raised vegetarian because my mother was Seventh-day Adventist, and Seventh-day Adventists, they have a health message, and in this health message, it's we must eat of the land, of the nourishment that God has provided for us. And so fast forward into learning more about a different culture outside of Seventh-day Adventists, I learned more about Rastafari. And Rastafari was even deeper when it comes to that aspect. Well, not all Rastafarians, but some live more of a solitary life in Jamaica or in the hills, and they ate more of the earth, and they called it ital. Ital meaning like they took out the nat and made it ital instead of natural. And I saw this as an avenue. If I'm going to say I'm a Rastafarian, I have to make sure that my integrity lines up with what I'm actually saying that I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
That a lot of people claiming to be a Rasta never truly ate ital. They just took on, adorned the locks, said Ja Rastafari and Selassie I prayers and all those things, but the lifestyle didn't add up with what they were saying. And so I didn't want to be that person considered saying one thing and doing another. And I said, I'm going to make sure all that I consume is plants of the earth. And that started in 1998. And I didn't know what vegan was or plant-based was because none of that existed in my community. It was more so something I was introduced to later on in life from various other people who asked me what I ate and why I ate that way. And then they said, oh, you're vegan. I was like, what is that? And it's not until even later on I learned what truly vegan is. But even to take it now, I don't like labels, Josh. And labels seem to be what boxes us in a certain position. We got to stay there. And you can't stretch, if you step out of that box, then, oh no, you're not a good vegan, you're doing this, what have you. So yeah, that's how it started for me.
Beautiful. And have you just kind of kept, where have you gone eating wise as you have built your physique? How do you eat? What do you eat? And the big question, do you get enough protein?
Right. That's funny. That the irony of you asking that, protein. The irony of you asking that is I'm in the process of making a film for another outlet about what I eat in a day and how do I get my protein in, and just kind of giving some examples of it, because it's fascinating to me that even to this day people still have a misconception or a misunderstanding of what a person who's plant-based vegan eats in order to maintain size, build muscle, look a certain way, when all in all it really is nutrition. So you're getting in nutrition, I'm just getting in nutrition without getting it from animal flesh. And that same nutrition you're getting, I'm getting, because I'm pretty much getting what the animal that you're most likely eating eats first before you eat it.
It's like what our next guest, Milton Mills, says, all amino acids come from plants.
Right. And that's the building blocks of protein. Because people are they're more concerned with the end product, which is the protein, than they are the beginning area, the building blocks that start it all. And if you're getting that from the source, you're ultimately getting it at a better rate than having to go through someone else in order to what you need.
Can you give us a quick breakdown on like what you would eat in a normal day?
Woo, change. Let's do it quick. I love oatmeal. Oatmeal is one of my favorite breakfast things. And add to that, I will have scrambled tofu or something like on the side. I love Ezekiel bread, so any one of them. Sometimes I'll do the cinnamon raisin one, or what have you. I may do a shake here and there, but I usually start, before we get to all of that, I start my day with water and some fruit. Fruit
Amen.
could be strawberries, bananas, pineapples. If I have kiwi, I'll have kiwi. If I have whatever fruit I have that I was particular to buy that weekend prior to the start of my week or the next week, that's what I'm eating. Because I'm learning now to really start out with fruit, because fruit has the ability to give us what we need, and the fiber that it has to kind of break down your system kind of gets you prepared for that next meal. And then my next meal, like I said, is sometimes it's oatmeal, sometimes it's cereal. Yes, I eat cereal. Oh, I eat a cereal that, of course, it's gonna be a plant-based cereal, and almond milk or the almond cashew milk. I'll do soy milk. Oh yes, I eat soy, and I've been doing that for years. My lunch is typically some form of, I'll either do tempeh or tofu or some beans, or Long Jeff Brands has a new pea protein that's really good. It's very dense when it comes to, because people are looking for protein. It has 40 grams of protein per serving, very low in the carbohydrate and the fat content. So, but you can create many different meals with it because it's dehydrated. And so once you hydrate it, it has a more of a texture that you can utilize for making sauces, add to sauces, things of that nature, or what have you. And that's, for me, would be lunch. Now, I do protein shakes here and there. And so I may have a protein shake, and sometimes I just do protein shake directly with just the protein and the water, or just the protein and the milk, which is, of course, some type of nut milk, almond or soy milk.
Do you have a favorite?
Favorite brand or favorite type?
Like type and brand or whatever you want to share.
I'm particular to almond milk. I don't know why, but I've had the others. I've had walnut milk. I've had rice milk. I've had pecan, the malts. What else? There's a bunch now. Pistachio.
Would you like the oat milk? Have you played with the oat milk?
I don't understand this fascination with oat milk. I don't get it. To me, it was like, ugh. But I guess I was never into milk.
Maybe try another brand. I've had some really gross ones, and I've had some really delicious ones.
Yeah, you know what? And I've been hearing a lot of people praise oat milk, and
I didn't understand it either in the beginning.
Yeah, clients that are not vegan that love oat milk. Like, yeah. But I think maybe oat milk has that. Maybe it has more of a milk flavor or taste, because when people have the almond milk that I prefer, they're like, "Oh, that's too sweet. That doesn't taste like milk." And I guess I'm accustomed to it because I never was a person that drank milk, so I don't really know what your milk is supposed to taste like. I've always had plant-based milk, always. Now in the past, maybe if I had something before I was vegan, whatever, it may have had it in it, but I've never just said, "Ooh, I want some cow's milk, let me drink it." Never. I don't know what that tastes like. So maybe that's where my difference comes in, is that I'm so accustomed to plant-based milk that I'm used to that one. So my favorite is almond. Almond probably by far is my first choice. I like to go with the one that has the least amount of, not processing, but additives. And sometimes, you can't get away from them. And sometimes I do my best. There's one company that does have just straight almonds and water. Actually, it's pretty good. It's just, when they talk about this, the size to the amount of you pay for it, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Now, one time I did do a shake with Johnny Juicer. You know Johnny Juicer?
Oh yeah, he's rad.
Yeah.
And his puppy. His puppy's so cool.
That's my guy. I made a protein shake at his house. And he had a Vitamix. All he did was throw some almonds in there and some water. And we put a scoop of protein in there. It was blazing. It was so good to have it straight, natural, just done.
I think my favorite is cashew and hazelnut made at home. It's so good. Maybe a little bit of maple syrup with it. Oh, it's delicious.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So for someone who is wanting to sculpt their body, where would you recommend people start?
When you say start, what do you mean? Like,
How to get started? You know, you want to get to, well, like you know, people who want to become your body. What would you recommend?
I would recommend, see, I started with a lot of body weight stuff because I was young. You know, I was probably about 15 when I started working out, and I started with push-ups and other ways to curl weights. Like I said, I used my grandfather's iron weight and I used that to curl with. Bodyweight exercises is a great way to get your body accustomed to the movement. Now, mind you, of course, lifting weights, the movement is slightly different because you're not going to deadlift your weight, your body weight, but you're going to squat it. But a deadlift is totally different. A pull-up is your body weight, but as you learn to kind of correct your muscles into performing them optimally, it'll help you with a lat pull down or doing a bicep curl or doing a bent over barbell row. So bodyweight would be my first place to start with people when it comes to that, because if you can do bodyweight exercises in the excess of multiple reps and perform it properly, you can then move on to that next stage where you're lifting weights.
Cool.
That's kind of, sorry about that plug, but this plug I'm about to give you for my ebook Primer, which is all about foundational bodybuilding training. In that, I have videos that show proper form, biomechanics, and movement when it comes to the specific exercises. When you're going from body weight to next level, you're working out in a gym or working out with weights at your home.
Wonderful. Yeah, one of my dear friends got your ebook and really got a lot out of it. So thank you. So in this wild time right now, have you built a concrete weight gym or anything? How have you kept your physique up for the last 2 months?
I honestly, to be straight up honest, I have a place I can go to that, you know, it's closed, but still allow
You're special.
to work out and get it done. And, you know, I don't have to only stick to body weight workouts because, you know, I have different goals. And sometimes, especially as far as I've come with my physique, utilizing like bands and things of that nature are great because they keep you, they can maintain you, keep the strength on you. But when I'm looking to do different things, I want to have the convenience of having a gym atmosphere, you know, and I don't have the actual luxury of having the space to build a concrete gym. That'd be great. If I have my own concrete gym, then I could do it that way. But I've been able to utilize an actual gym that's not open to the public, but still able to be able to work out for myself.
Awesome, buddy. Do you have any other things you'd like to share with the community?
Yes. There's so many different things you can share with the community because I think in this time there's a lot more people who are listening because they're looking to boost their immune system and strengthen their immune system, strengthen their overall wellness, because health should be a concern not from the moment we've had an onset of illness, but from the moment we go out into the world. Because your health is your wealth. You know, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the wealth to utilize it, what does it matter? You know, especially if you're going to be gone tomorrow, because you know now your body can't take all the elements of the everyday life. So that should be an importance. And I think now more people are listening, but we still need to be cautious of how we deliver our message. You know what I mean? A lot of
totally
our message with such almost audacity and arrogance that people don't really want to listen to because they're like, that package is damaged. Can you please return that to sender? I don't want to open it and listen. So we need to deliver it with more compassion as we have for other things. We need to package it with compassion so people are more apt to open it. So
Love is truly the most important thing to focus on in this time, is because it's the opposite of fear. So we have to really hyper focus on just loving others, loving the planet, loving everything to heal, so we can get to this next stage of wherever we're going, which we don't know yet. But it's a fun adventure. I've been overall really enjoying this. So
almost like you have to take the fear out of the equation. And the love starts with yourself. If you can love yourself for who you are, that will manifest into loving others and not feeling as if you have to impose your will onto others. You're just going to leave with love, therefore allow everybody to be understood in the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's unconditional loving and unconditionally giving, which is, well, the only way to really make any lasting changes with anything. So awesome, buddy. Well, I have super enjoyed this time with you. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, what I like to say is, everybody maintain open heart and open mind and question everything. You never know.
Yes.
Question everything. Question me. You got to question, because if we're just allow things to just come to us and we just accept it as our reality, it's almost as if we're giving in to our own personal identity and our own individuality. You are a person that can inspire someone within your circle. It doesn't necessarily have to be inspire thousands or hundreds of millions. You can inspire 10 people that may change their life and change the life of others. So yeah, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, you're spot on, 100%, bud. So thank you so much. And thank you, VegFest LA, for producing this. So we're going to turn this back over to you, Billy. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Josh. That was cool. For those of you that don't know out there, Joshua is also on the board of Towards Freedom, and he helps out a lot with the
All right,
festival.
I think
he is a whiz
it's
with
done. I
all
think
things
we're
internet and great ideas.
there's about a
and everything, and
2-minute
he helped hook up some
delay
interviews
on it.
with,
So
Tori today and Dr. Mills
hopefully
later on.
I'll see if
so we
he's
got a little bit of
still
time to kill while they set up
on
that Zoom meeting. And so I've got, we have animal adoptions at VegFest.
Still there, Billy?
And we couldn't really do them here, but we had a couple places that we
this isn't
know
live.
and love send us some videos of their animals. And so here, enjoy the cats.
Hi everybody, we're here at the Kitten Rescue Adoption Center in Atwater Village. Kitten Rescue is a nonprofit cat rescue, well, cat mostly rescue. We do occasionally get a dog, but we don't have any right now. So in the adoption center, we
really great,
have kittens that
comments.
are anywhere from 2 months, because they have to be spayed and neutered before we get them adopted, and 7 to 10 months old. Right now, our oldest one, I think, is 7 months. This right here is Orange Crush, and he was part of a trapping and spaying clinic that we did, and he went into the cage with his mom, so he got fixed right away. This is Sherry. Sherry was born outside, but the people would bring food to them and talk to them, so they got people friendly. And now she's ready for adoption too. She's about 4 months old. I'm gonna get Orange back here. And these are just some of the kittens that we have here at the adoption center, but Kitten Rescue has many, many more in foster homes. So you can access them on our website, kittenrescue.org, and look for our adoption gallery. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tiffany and this is Ada. Ada was adopted about 8 months ago. We are here representing Stray Cat Alliance. This is the home edition. Many of the staff members are working from home in our organization to help flatten the curve due to COVID-19 here in Los Angeles. So we are here. We really wanted, oh, there's a little meow. We really wanted to participate in VegFest, so we're very excited to do so. But coming up, we wanted to show you a couple of our kitties that are available for adoption. And without further ado, check them out. Meet our beautiful girl, Emily, and her best furry friend, Athos. They're available for adoption as a bonded pair through StrayCatAlliance.org. Emily is a sweet but shy girl, and she's really happy that Athos became her best buddy. Athos is super sweet and friendly, and he really loves attention from humans. And Emily loves to watch Athos from her cat tree. You can adopt this bonded pair through StrayCatAlliance.org. Meet the gorgeous Siamese Griffith and his sister here, Melrose. They are both very sweet and adorable, loving cats. They love attention, they love scratches, human attention, you name it. They both are available together as a bonded pair. And last, but definitely not least, we have Sydney here and his best buddy, Tony. Hi, Sydney. They are even great with sweet dogs, other cats, and they absolutely love the attention of humans. They've been patiently waiting for their forever home. Adopt this handsome duo on StrayCatAlliance.org.
All right. So those were our animal adoptions. I don't know if, one of my favorite things about VegFest is during the day I can go eat whatever I want. But I'm stuck at home. I didn't prepare very well. So, this is the food truck. I had a smoothie made beforehand. So hopefully that'll keep me full for the rest of this thing. But we're kind of getting down to our last hour, and we're having a good time. And I hope you are too. It takes a village to put on this festival, not just the virtual version, but also obviously the live version we do. And I made a little movie. I wanted all the coordinators, or not all of them, but a lot of them, sent a little greeting, and so you can meet some of the team. Here they are.
Hi, I'm Jory. I co-coordinate Kids Kingdom. Please enjoy our virtual VegFest this year, and we hope to see you next year.
Hey, it's Neil from Telluride, Colorado. Didn't make it out this year for VegFest, obviously, and can't wait until we do it next year. Have fun at the virtual VegFest, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Corey. I've been a VegFest Los Angeles volunteer for the past 10 years, and I help with social media and communication.
Hi, I'm Beliana. I'm the co-coordinator of Kids Kingdom. I look forward to seeing you next year. I was really looking forward to seeing you this year, but for sure next year.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a float volunteer with VegFest. We miss you so much this year, and come float with me next year.
Hi, my name is Shar. I'm the food coordinator for VegFest LA. I hope everyone is staying healthy and having a great time today. And I miss you all. Can't wait till next year to see you.
Hey there, Gary Gardner, stage manager at VegFest. Be safe, be kind.
Hi, my name is Liz, and I'm one of the exhibitors co-coordinators for VegFest LA, and I'll see you next year.
Hey, Dave Rutan here, VegFest sign guy. And basically, VegFest will be that way. No, they're that way. Actually, we're online this year.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Carlin. I'm the co-coordinator of VegFest LA. I'm going to look forward to seeing all of you next year in 2021.
Jeanette here, aka Basic Vegan Bitch. I help with VegFest's Instagram, and I also help with the speakers tent.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm the flyering coordinator for VegFest. Would you like a flyer?
Hello and welcome to Virtual VegFest LA 2020. My name is Melissa Breslow. I'm honored to be here. I am a co-producer of the event, a coordinator of Mind, Body, Space. I got to teach yoga this morning, and I'm on the board of Towards Freedom, which is the nonprofit that puts on VegFest LA. We have an amazing team that puts so much time and hard work into bringing veganism and compassion to your homes today. So thank you so much for getting involved and tuning in. And I will see all your beautiful faces next year. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So those are some of the coordinators. There's a lot of people you didn't see. And if you're interested in volunteering, we've got a great team. You can go to our website. There's a button to volunteer right there on the front. There's also a button to donate. We can use any amount of money. We usually make our money back at the Oasis Beer and Wine Garden. We also get it via the supporter packages with the Oasis gift bag and the Fast Pass sales. And certain things like that. Some merchandise sales we do. And speaking of which, I think we should give away another T-shirt, another hat, or another pair of them. So one goes to Facebook, one goes to YouTube. And I got to think of a good question, and I've run out of VegFest questions to ask, but here's a random one. Okay, so I went to the first VegFest in LA in 2000, and then I volunteered the next year in 2001. Let's just guess what year I started co-producing and co-directing the festival. So whoever gets that right, and that's going to be a guess unless you know me really well and you've known me for a long time, hint, hint. We'll go with that one. That's our question for the T-shirt and hat giveaway, and I'll try to track you down online and tell you on it. So right now, we're waiting for Dr. Milton Mills, and Mike the Vegan is going to be interviewing him, and I think Josh is going to be in on that conversation as well. Got a good long one. We were just able to lock him in yesterday, which is super fun, the last-minute ads, but it's worth it because he's somebody we've wanted to have at VegFest for a very long time. And while I'm trying to kill time, if you've never been to the festival before, if you're in Los Angeles, or even if you're not, it's worth the trip because we do have one of the most fantastic lineups of speakers. We have the what we call the Vegspiration tent, and the last 2 years we've done panels because we have so many great speakers that want to come. Alicia Silverstone came last year and she did her own thing, and I've been talking to her manager and I'm trying to offer her a home every year at VegFest. She wants to come back. And it says they're ready. But just so that you know the other things that happen at VegFest, animal adoptions. You saw the cats earlier. We have a lot of those. Over 150 exhibitors. We've had about 70 to 100 food booths. We have this amazing Kids Kingdom. We didn't really do anything for that today. Kind of hard to do in the virtual world, but it is really outstanding. We have live music. We have the Oasis Beer, Wine, Cider, and Hard Kombucha Garden, which we're going to talk about a little later. And I just got the message that Josh is ready. We dropped the veil. You're seeing it all here, And I'm calling Josh now, and let me get to my Zoom link, and I will get them locked in here. I'm going to allow this. It's hard to join with video. Okay, I'm Josh. Josh, we're live. I'm waiting here. Please wait. The host has got to let me in. This is the fun part. There it is. I'm being let in, I think. And I figured out why we're not getting a microphone at the beginning. So you guys are now, let's see, join with computer
Connecting to audio. Looks like he is on
go
here,
back over here,
and I can't hear
I can
him.
hear you, but
Oh,
I
he's
don't
muted.
I don't have you up and running yet. So let me do that.
Well,
can you guys, Josh, you tell them to hold on, stop talking for a second? Good, because they are live right now. I believe, and
oh, they're talking on the
give away
phone to
too
each
much
other.
about what the talk is going to be
So
about.
I assume the day's been going great.
Okay, so you guys are live, Josh, right now.
It's been going pretty well, other than those
We are
technical
live
difficulties.
right now.
Oh, we're live.
All right.
Mike the Vegan and Milton Mills. So take it away, guys.
All right. I'm super duper happy to have Milton Mills, Dr. Milton Mills here. Thanks so much. Welcome, Milton.
My pleasure to be here, and thank you guys for inviting me. It's one of the hardest things about this COVID crisis has been the interruption in so many of the vegan conferences and events that would normally be happening this time of year. So it's nice to see that you guys are doing this virtually, at least so that people can still get information and still get a sense of community and know that, hey, we might not be together, but we're still there supporting each other. So yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, for me, going to these festivals is like a kind of a recharge because I'm, you're a doctor, you're out there a little more, but I am making videos from like my home studio all the time. And so it helps so much to just like get some power recharged. And then that LA Veg Fest, like I said before, is like a massive reunion that I love and just love seeing everybody there. And meeting people, and that's not happening. So that's not happening all over. And so we definitely need to be doing things like this. So Milton and I actually met at a Veg Fest in Detroit. That was a fun time. V313 it was a couple years back, and it was cool. It was kind of like a warehouse feel. One of those, I think they do the farmers market at that place in Detroit. Cool open atrium. So I think I'm just gonna hop into asking you some questions because we have a couple things we really want to tap Milton's mind here on the COVID stuff, get some COVID wisdom. Also understand right now that not everybody wants to just hear COVID stuff. I'm going to try and sort of vary the topic here a little bit to make people feel a little bit better. But then at the same time, like, come on, you got to get the knowledge where you can get the knowledge. So what are your general thoughts about it? Made in a lab?
Oh boy. Okay. Let me say, on the made in a lab, I don't know.
If you want to go
but
there,
I
sure.
would not be surprised
Oh,
because
you're going all the way there.
just I have learned not to put anything past government when it comes to trying to use biological agents and develop them and weaponize them. And, as an African American man, having been, by proxy, a victim of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment and some of the other things the government has done to people of color down through the ages, again, I have been relieved of my naivete about the good intentions of government. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't have any hard data on that. The fact that it sort of popped up so suddenly and then became just so virulent, it suggests that this could have been something that was modified for increased virulence and infectiousness, but we just don't know right now. But what we do know is that it was a zoonotic virus that started in animals at some point. Now, whether it just jumped from animals to humans because of our disgusting and disgraceful habit of eating animals, or whether it was isolated from an animal, taken to a lab, and then enhanced, we don't know. But and I guess at this point, it's kind of beside the point because it's here now and we have to deal with it. So until we get more information, I think it's probably best to just focus on, okay, now that it's here, how do we deal with it? How do we cope? What's the best way of handling things and ourselves?
All right. Yeah, I'm of the view, or I just really would like to believe that the scientists in the Lancet and stuff like that and people like that are right in saying that it's a natural origin. Obviously, I'm open to anything if it's proven.
Sure.
But I mean, the $70 billion wild animal farming industry in China would be, I think, plenty to get it going. But we'll see what happens. And then speaking of, I think you're a great voice for Black voice in the vegan movement, and I really wanted to ask you, since we're already on the COVID topic, what do you think could be explaining some of the higher death rates that we see in Blacks and Latinos? Sure. If you want to go there.
The increased susceptibility. Yeah. It's a number of things. One thing that is not well understood or appreciated by the general public, and that includes African Americans, is the fact that studies have been done that have shown that the constant racial discrimination and stress that people of color, particularly African Americans, are under in this country, and the fact that, when we go out, we've got to worry about, am I going to be harassed or, beaten or killed by the police? Are my children going to, not be able to come home because they've had a run-in with some racist cops? When I go to work, I have to deal with people who have, certain attitudes about me. This constant state of racial discrimination, racism, and stress puts people of color in essentially a post-traumatic stress disorder situation. We all have kind of post-traumatic stress. And let me just say parenthetically right now, everything that I'm going to say that the attendees are hearing, I want you to go out and Google this for yourself. I want you to research it because, one, you'll see that I'm telling you the absolute truth. And two, I think when people can confirm things for themselves, it tends to make it more real for them. But there are a number of studies that have been done that have shown that this constant of racial results in this PTSD-like syndrome that actually predisposes us to more chronic disease because we have higher levels of stress hormones and decreased immune function because of the stress we're under. So that's kind of at baseline. Then when you look at the fact that many people of color are in crowded urban situations that don't have the best, they don't have access to good, healthy food. They are, again, often in crowded, less than ideal situations in terms of the sanitation of the general area and so on and so forth. And also, I can't emphasize this enough, the fact that a lot of people of color are live off of fast food because it's cheap and it's available. But what that means is that they are eating food that is not supplying their body with the nutrients and phytochemicals and cofactors that their immune system needs to mount a robust immune response once they're challenged. So the analogy that I've used several times is if you imagine that you have a country and the country has Army and Air Force and the Navy, and you look at that country and you think, oh, okay, they're ready to defend themselves. But if you look closer, you find that the guns don't have firing pins because they haven't been replaced. The Air Force has planes, but they can't fly because the engines are in disrepair. And the Navy has ships, but they can't sail because, again, they don't have working propellers. They don't have the weapons that they need to fight. So as long as that nation isn't challenged and you look at it from a distance, it looks like, hey, they're good. They they have a military. And when people are not eating a healthy diet, you draw blood from them and their white blood cell count might be in a normal range. But when you look at the things that those white blood cells need to do their job, in other words, they need a number of vitamins and minerals and cofactors to actually do the job of not only finding infectious pathogens, but then destroying them. Well, if you're not taking in those nutrients from your diet, you have white blood cells, but they can't function properly. And everything looks okay until you're challenged by a serious illness. And then it becomes abundantly clear that you are not as healthy as you seemed. And so, it's the chronic stress, the poor diet, which also leads to a significant number of people of color who are overweight or obese. And that in and of itself is what I call an unrecognized pre-existing condition. And again, I'm a big one on analogies, but the way I explain this to someone is that if you take a Pekingese and a Great Dane, and you take the internal organs out of that Pekingese and transplant them into the Great Dane, Great Dane's not going to do well because he's not going to have the reserve that he needs to exercise, to get up, to run, to do whatever. And if he survived at all, the minute that animal was challenged by a stressful situation, his organs would fail because you have the organs that were meant for a much smaller body working overtime to try and keep this much larger body alive. Well, those organs have no more reserve to fight off something like an infection or trauma and so forth. And so it's a similar thing that when human beings are carrying around 2, 3, 4 times as much weight as they should, their organs are already stressed to the max. They're already using whatever reserve these organs have. And as a result, when they get another stressor like a serious infection like COVID, or they're in an accident or something like that, there's simply no more reserve left. And these people are prone to go into multi-system organ failure and unfortunately not do well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I think the Army with the no bullets analogy was really good. And just because I want to try a screen share, and I think people might just want to. I just want to make sure that people see the data.
Sure.
This is a chart of it's like a month old, but this is a chart different races: Asian, white, Hispanic, Latino, Black, and African American. And then you can see this is cases per 100,000. You can see the death rate is higher. For Latino, obviously, we have the slaughterhouse situation with Latino.
Hey guys, this is Billy chiming in. You cannot see screen shares; it just goes black for everybody.
Okay, all right, good to
jump
know.
out of that.
Oh,
Okay.
I can see it. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys can't. Wow, that's messed up.
Okay, well, good to know that. Imagine a chart in which which is from a Vox article that proves exactly what we're talking about. Just imagine that.
Yeah.
And then one point I want to add to, just for me was the most shocking point, and then we can get back into some more COVID stuff, was, well, I'm studying Masters in Public Health, and one thing that just one piece of data that so well illustrated exactly what you're talking about, the effects of these invisible stressors, is that when I found out that Black women have higher infant mortality, even when they socioeconomically match other groups, and then people go, oh, well, you know, if somebody is racist out there, they might be like, oh, well, they just have higher mortality because they're racist. It's like, no, actually, if you look at Europe, their mortality rates are equal to the infant mortality rate. So it's like, what is this force leading to this? And I think you really did a good job of capturing what that is in terms of COVID. And then we also see just a huge point here is that 90% of the people who have died, you know, moving past race just in terms of disease, 90% of them have had a pre-existing condition like heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, so forth. And so that's led to a lot of vegans being like, oh, if everyone is vegan, then nobody would die, kind of. You know, maybe that's a little overboard, but what are your thoughts on potentially, you know, treating some chronic diseases, or is there a valid argument here for veganism or vegan diets, or what do you think?
Wow. It's like there are like 10 million things I want to say at once. There is no question in my mind that being plant-based gives you a more robust immune system and makes you more resistant to viral infections in general. And there are really solid physiologic reasons for that. So we have mechanisms that explain it. You know, anecdotal data is always problematic, but I'm going to share this because it's something I hear from a lot of people who are plant-based. When I went plant-based, I stopped getting the flu. And even if I get exposed to a cold or something, it's gone within 72 hours. It's like my immune system. I remember once I live on the East Coast, but I grew up in California, and I go back and forth a lot. And a few years ago, I was on a flight where somebody sitting behind me was like coughing the whole time, you know. And sure enough, by the time I got to San Francisco, my throat was scratchy. I started feeling, you know, wow, I'm going to come down with something. I think I may have fever the night, but literally in the next 48 hours, my immune system kicked in and that infection was gone. So, I mean, I know from personal experience that a plant-based immune system is much more robust. When I look at what the immune system needs to do its job, you get those cofactors and phytochemicals and antioxidants from plant-based diets. And it's putting those firing pins back in those rifles. It's fixing the engines on those jet airplanes. It's putting the propellers on those ships, so that you not only have a military, but you have one that is functional because it's continually getting the nutrients it needs from your diet to help it do its job. I actually, I'm going to see if I can show you guys something here.
As long as it's not a screen share, because they're saying screen
no,
shares.
Well, it's not going to be a screen share. I'm going to hold it in front of the camera.
It's a normal share. This is going to be show and tell. Share. Foreign concept right now.
All right. Okay. So, Mike, can you see this?
Not incredibly well. Yeah, if you hold it up a little bit better.
All right.
There you go. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can see in 80%.
All right. So what that's showing you is the difference between people who ate 2 to 3 servings. I think it's about 2 servings of fruits and vegetables. Is it per week or per day? Per day versus those that were doing 5 a day. And this shows the difference in antibody response after they've been vaccinated with the pneumonia vaccine. And what you see from this is that people who were eating more fruits and vegetables had a much better antibody response. In other words, their immune system was much more effective in responding to this pneumovax than people who weren't eating enough fruits and vegetables. And so what this shows is that fruits and vegetables enhance the ability of our immune system to fight off infections. Let me find one other graph if I can.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So it's basically the antibodies need materials to be made. And so plants, plants
right.
allow it.
And then down here in this corner, you see this little thing on natural killer cells. Your natural killer cells are like a combination of policemen and Marines. They are first to the fight. Many of our immune cells have to be programmed in order to do their job well. They have to be shown, okay, this is who you're looking for, this is what the antigen looks like, and this is who you attack. Natural killer cells actually have the ability to pick out disease cells even without this sort of preconditioning. And so the healthier and more robust your natural killer cells are, the more resistant you are to not only viral infections, but things like cancer and bacterial infections as well. And what this is telling you is that, again, people who are plant-based have much more robust natural killer cell function. That's been shown in multiple studies. And then one other thing, all right, here we go.
It's all good. No,
All
these
right.
are interesting.
Can you see this with the mushrooms?
I see a immunoglobulin A chart.
Right. Immunoglobulin A is the antibody that is secreted in our tears, in our saliva, in our GI tract secretions. And it's important because, again, that's your first line of defense. That means something comes in your eyes or in your mouth. If you've got good levels of IgA, that's going to knock that crap out before it has a chance to invade your body. One serving of mushrooms markedly ramps up your IgA production and keeps it up for 2 weeks. One serving.
Dang, yeah, give me some mushrooms.
Exactly, man. And these, and guess what? These are the little white button idiotic mushrooms we get in our at the salad bar. These aren't even the more exotic ones that are even, you know, that much more potent in this regard. And so the whole point is that if you're constantly including mushrooms in your diet, you're going to keep that first line of defense functioning in overdrive, which will prevent a virus from invading your body in the first place. So I just wanted to share, you know, those few things to show people that there are really, really sound, scientifically proven reasons and mechanisms by which being plant-based turbocharges your immune system and makes you much more resistant to infections and or much more likely to recover from them if you're challenged by something.
So my question here is, for a chart like that, and it might have been a little hard to see the top line, but you saw with the mushrooms, the immunoglobulin A just shooting up compared to the baseline.
Right.
Is that in people who are just consuming so little healthy whole foods that when they get a health food, they just their system improves, or is it literally a specific effect?
It's in everybody. I mean, these were volunteers who were given one serving of mushrooms. So, if anything, the healthier your diet, that response is probably even more pronounced and more effective. But that's in all comers. So that's like you go by the nursing home, pick up your granny, and go out for some sautéed mushrooms and tofu. That's her. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're doing like super duper healthy, whole food, plant-based, plus not only button mushrooms, but shiitakes, oyster, all of the full panoply of options that are out there, you're even going to have a more profound and robust and long-lasting response. So again, my God, we could do a whole conference on plant-based diets and immune function. I mean, literally, we could talk about that for a solid 8 to 12 hours and just talk about all the various mechanisms. But I just want people to know that not only is this real, but there's real science that shows why it works. Now, having said that, that does not mean that just because you're plant-based, you should traipse around without a mask or not observe proper hand washing. It's like being a safe driver and wearing your seatbelt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should all be safe drivers, but we should always wear our seatbelts.
I appreciate that. I'm glad you hit on that as well, because I think, just because, like I always use the example, if a vegan diet was found to decrease risk of cancer by 90%, that 10% would still get it. Like, vegans aren't invincible, even though they're doing a heck of a lot better off. And now there was some interesting, I believe, preliminary data on people who were severely hospitalized in severe conditions where they did have lower vitamin D levels. What are your thoughts about that, if you want to hit on vitamin D?
Sure. Actually, there have been several studies, autopsy studies, that have been done on people who succumbed or died from a COVID infection. One of the earliest ones was done in people in China, and it showed that those individuals who did worse and who died sooner or who had a more severe course of disease had below normal levels of a mineral called selenium. And selenium is very important for immune cell function. And again, this goes back to the analogy of the missing firing pin. If you have a diet that is not supplying and keeping your body supplied with selenium, then your immune cells can't do what they're supposed to do. And I used to do HIV work 20 years ago. And one of the first supplements we would always make sure that our patients were on was selenium, because it was so important for immune cell function. So low levels of selenium have been shown to be a problem. And let me just say, people will say, oh my God, where do I get selenium? Yes, you can get it in supplement form. And the supplement recommendation would probably be about 100 micrograms a day. But there's actually a much more fun way to get your selenium. And that is by eating Brazil nuts. Mm-hmm. Brazil nuts are the highest source of selenium in the American diet. All Brazil nuts are completely organic and wild. How do I know that? Because there's no such thing as a Brazil nut orchard. Brazil nuts are harvested directly from the Amazon rainforest, and they have to be. And the reason is that in order for the Brazil nut tree to be pollinated, it's this complex multi-step process that involves orchid bees that live in the Amazon rainforest that bathe themselves in wild orchids and then go and copulate in the Brazil nut tree flower, and that's how it gets pollinated. And if you don't have orchid bees, you don't get Brazil nuts. All Brazil nuts harvested directly from the rainforest.
They love nuts. That sounds bad.
Right. Three Brazil nuts a week will keep your body loaded with selenium. Other studies, as you just mentioned, there are a number of these studies coming out now showing that, again, people who have done worse or had a more stormy course or even died from COVID infection have had below normal levels of D3. And it's called a vitamin. I hate
it's a hormone.
It's a hormone. It's not a vitamin. But when you do the research, and again, I want to encourage people to do this because in working on this lecture on cancer and looking at immunity against cancer cells, but also just immunity in general, I started reviewing the literature on it, and there's a number of researchers who believe that the reason that flu and colds are seasonal, that is, they tend to go away spring and summer and come back and peak in fall and especially winter, is because of the rise and fall in D3 levels due to sun exposure. Because during spring and summer, people get a lot more sun exposure. Their serum levels of D3 are much higher. And D3 is so important, again, in immune function and in specifically antiviral activities of our immune cells, that the higher the D3 levels, the more resistant we are to viral infections. And so these researchers argue that's why people don't get colds in the summer, because their D3 levels are up. So, and again, as you mentioned, it has been shown that people with better, higher D3 levels are more resistant to COVID infection. And again, it's because it's so important for our antiviral immunity. So I recommend to everyone that, since most of us don't get very much sun, or certainly not enough, and even when we're outside, we're wearing clothes, and this is especially true for darker skinned people because it requires more sun exposure for a darker skinned person to make D3, that to be safe, we should all take a plant-based D3 supplement of 5,000 IUs, which stands for international units, every single day. Now, some people say, whoa, 5,000, that sounds like a lot. Well, studies that have been done on people running around butt naked in the African savannah, they make over 20,000 IUs every day, just from sun exposure. So 5,000 is definitely safe. Now, one more interesting thing. There's a study that looked at periodic dosing with like 50,000 IUs of D3 a month versus daily administration. The people who got it on a daily basis did much better in terms of their immunity and resistance to infection than the people who had that single massive dose. So it suggests that the daily dosing is more physiologic and more like what we would be experiencing if we were all, again, running around naked in the sun as we're supposed to.
Sounds good to me after all this, after all this isolation. I'm just joking. So
let me just cover a couple more things. Zinc. Zinc repletion is again critically important because there are actually these white blood cell enzyme systems called zinc fingers that they use to generate the toxic metabolites that they use to kill viruses and virus infected cells. Well, obviously, if you don't have zinc available, you don't have your zinc fingers, your white cells can't do their job. And so people definitely need to make sure that they are taking in a source of zinc. One of the problems with COVID infection is people probably heard about this cytokine storm. It ramps up this massive level of oxidative stress and reactive oxygen species in the body. So you definitely need to have a robust amount of antioxidants in your system. So that includes things like vitamin C, but also all of those brightly colored compounds in berries and brightly colored vegetables. Those are all potent antioxidants. And again, the more that you have in your system, the better your immune cell system is going to function, the more resistant you're going to be to the kind of oxidative damage that COVID tends to cause. And then the last study that I'm familiar with is a study out of Europe where they looked at supplementing people with a compound called quercetin. And quercetin is an antioxidant that you can get in capsule form, and that did show activity against COVID infection. But what I want people to understand is quercetin is a flavonol, and flavonols, again, are found in brightly colored fruits and berries. So if you're eating your blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, anything that's deeply blue or deeply purple or yellow or orange, you're getting a lot of, well, primarily the redder ones, because quercetin is typically found in grapes and berries. You're going to get natural sources of the quercetin. So this is yet another reason to have a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet.
Yeah, capers are also a really good source of quercetin, even though they're kind of loaded with salt. So zinc, you got to get those zinc fingers. This is bad, but I feel like it'd be a really horribly marketed faux meat replacement. Get your zinc fingers. Yeah, really interesting stuff. We also have the inflammation. Obviously, cytokine storms inflammation. And at least we know you take somebody and put them on a vegan diet, you see 30% lowering pretty quickly of C-reactive protein. That's a good one.
Exactly.
And then another thing I'm just curious to hear your opinion on, or if you have an explanation for, we've started to see, and I haven't seen this talked about that much, we've started to see a pretty impressive gap in terms of death rates between men and women. Men are dying at a significantly higher rate. I'm looking at a chart here. Sorry, I can't show you, but twice as many men than women in the Netherlands, almost that in Spain and Italy. And it goes down to Canada is pretty much the most even. Germany's a little more, but across the board, men are dying more. Is there any explanation for that? I have an idea, but I want to hear your idea.
Sure. So let me say that I have not looked into the reasons for the gender differences specifically. So what I'm about to say is my opinion, although I do think it's grounded in solid observation of men versus women. Mike, are you still there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, because I kind of lost
chart
you.
if you want. Okay.
Oh, okay. Stupid. And I usually refer to it as testosterone poisoning. Number one, we tend to drive ourselves harder, so we are naturally more stressed. But then we do idiotic things like saying, well, I'm a man, I'm a carnivore, and, I'm going to have a more meat-based diet. And and a lot of men tend to avoid plant foods because they see that as being somehow less manly. So again, they are not getting those cofactors and compounds that they need to keep their military on point. So yeah, they've got guns that don't work, planes that don't fly, and ships that won't sail. And as a result,
and flags that won't raise.
There you go. Good. Yes, a good one. And actually, that's a good canary in the coal mine. If you're having issues with that, that is a good indicator that your body is in serious trouble in terms of its nutrient status and so forth. And so I think that plus the fact that diets that are high in fat, particularly animal fat, lower immune cell function. I talked to you the other day about I have a hypothesis that animal protein in and of itself decreases our immune surveillance and immune responsiveness. Now, that is a hypothesis, again, that grows out of my understanding of how our immune cells work, how animal protein affects our physiology. But I want to be clear that I don't have scientific proof of that yet, but I do have sound reasons why it is probably true. So, again, a combination of a very animal food centered diet, lower amounts of important plant foods and fruits and vegetables will make men much more susceptible to dying from an infection like COVID and dying in general, which is why women live longer than we do across the board.
Yeah, that's exactly I have a whole video called Why Women Live Longer, and it goes through all the studies on how men eat less vegetables, women eat more vegetables, of course, less meat. And another one, which I've seen recently a little bit more, is you were talking about wearing masks. And there seems to be a I call it masculinity complex, where men have decided that they look weak if they're wearing a mask, which I think is weakness unto itself. And so that could just be exposing them more.
Right. And that is a level of lunacy. I can't, again, I just, that's like saying, well, I'm not afraid, so I'm not going to wear my seatbelt. I don't need to do that, and I don't need a car with airbags because I'm a man. Really? It's just dumb. It is just really, really dumb. It is, I mean, the most intelligent and manly men are those who have enough sense to do the right thing, and not, sort of win the Darwin Award and shuffle off years before they need to.
Yeah, and I always say a lot of part of the biggest part of the mask actually probably is preventing you from actually spewing out any COVID that you have. And so it's funny how I feel like there's this whole hero complex where it's like, if there was a burning fire, a lot of the men who are refusing to wear masks would probably run in there to try and save people, risk their entire lives. Yet
no, they wouldn't, but go ahead.
They would say that they
would say that, right, exactly.
But they won't wear a mask. It's right. Just which could potentially save the same theoretical old woman that could be trapped in that house. And the price to pay is literally nothing. Your face is a little bit covered for part of the day. So,
well, and actually, the sad thing is that, as you say, masks really protect people from us. But when you have two idiots not wearing masks, they're basically harming each other.
Yeah.
You know, they both are, well, you know, we're guys, we don't need this. Yeah, and you're passing germs back and forth. And it's just stupid. It's just plain stupid.
What do you think about ideas that people have been passing around that, for example, wearing a mask traps your own virus, activates your own virus is one thing that I've heard. What are your thoughts on that?
That's like when people used to say, I don't wear my seatbelt because it's too confining, or if I get into an accident, I'll be trapped in the car and I can't get out. Number one, if let's say someone has been exposed and they are shedding virus. Well, it depends on where you are in that in that timeline, because there's a period of time where people can shed virus before the infection actually kicks in their body. The fact of the matter is that in comparison to what you're shedding vis-a-vis what's in your body, it's the difference between the water in your dish, pan versus the water in the ocean. You will have trillions of times more virus in your body than what you're actually shedding. Mm-hmm. So the idea that you would rebreathe something that is already completely overrun your body, it's negligible. That is not something anybody needs to be concerned about at all. And if you are someone whose body is mounting an adequate response to the virus, then you may be shedding it, but you yourself are protected because your body is handling it. So again, the fact that you might rebreathe a few of those viruses, it won't matter, because again, let's say we've got the quintessential proverbial whole food plant-based vegan who got exposed, but body's pumping out that IgA, which grabs onto the virus, doesn't let it set up house in the body. They mount an adequate immune response, start making antibody, good levels of neutralizing antibody, so that until they completely clear it from their system, they may shed a little bit, but they themselves are protected. So again, it won't matter for the individual. So that's just a specious argument, and practically it's nothing anyone should worry about.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that. That was a good explanation. I hadn't heard that exact explanation really before. It's hard because I want to keep talking about this because I feel like you have so many interesting things to say. But then I know there's people who are like, I'm so done with this. Like I recently did a poll asking what percent coronavirus material I should make and what percent normal. And they said 75% normal, 25% COVID. A lot of people are just like, I don't even want to hear about it, but I still think it's good to talk about it as well.
Sure.
So I mean, we can try moving past. Yeah, we can say something.
Okay. Yeah. What I want to say is people go to my website, which is Dr. Milton Mills plantbasednation.com. So that's Dr. Milton Mills plantbasednation.com. I have a list of recommended supplements for COVID on my website, so they can get that information there. So I say that to say I think we can safely move on.
Okay, cool. All right, let's safely move on. One thing I think is just really important that you talk about, that I think you did a great job at that USDA. Well, let's just open it up to talking about the USDA guidelines that are coming up. But also I wanted to ask you, you were, if I did a whole video on it, you were one of the people that sort of, you could call it testifying, publicly commented about changing dietary guidelines and talking, you particularly focused on lactose intolerance. And we got 5 minutes here, so we can wrap it up in 5 minutes on this. Lactose intolerance in the African-American population as well, and being recommended it. So if you want to just like familiarize people who haven't heard about this before.
Okay. Well, first of all, for those who may not know, lactose is the sugar that is in milk. It's in all mammalian milks. And lactose is what's called a disaccharide, meaning it's two separate sugar molecules that are joined together into a single molecule. But since our intestines can only absorb single molecules, in order to be able to digest lactose, you have to make an enzyme called lactase, which splits lactose into the two individual sugar molecules, which can then be absorbed. Well, all infants make lactase. But it turns out that the majority of people worldwide, 65 to 70% of the entire human population in the world, stop making lactase once they are no longer infants. And that makes sense because you shouldn't be drinking milk if you're not an infant. Therefore, you don't need to make an enzyme that you don't use. However, in cultures where the use of dairy products became an important part of their diet and made an important contribution to their energy requirements, we find that they over time selected for what are called lactase persisters, people who continue to make lactase throughout their entire lifespan. And so those are mainly Northern European populations. But when you look at the rest of the world, so let's just talk about in the United States. In the United States, about 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. 74 to 75% of Native Americans, 95% of Asians, and about 53% of Hispanics, versus only about 30% of Caucasians are lactose intolerant. If you look outside the United States, like say West Africa, actually 95 to 99% of those people there are also lactose intolerant. The difference for the prevalence between West Africa and the United States has to do with the fact that there was so much late night creeping into the slave quarters by slave owners. And a number of African Americans have a significant amount of European genes mixed in with us, which is why there's so many light-skinned African Americans. But the bottom line is that the vast majority of people of color in the United States cannot tolerate lactose. And if they ingest lactose, it will give them gas, cramping, diarrhea, bloating, and so forth. And that's also true of most Americans of color. And so the fact that the US government is still recommending that people of color eat or ingest dairy products is a crime, because it knows that it's going to make Americans of color sick, and it's going to make them sick for no reason. And the reason I say that is that the excuse given for recommending dairy products is that allegedly they are high in calcium. But again, the government knows, the medical community knows that calcium from dairy products has never been shown to protect humans against osteoporosis. If you look worldwide, those countries that consume the most dairy products have the highest rates of both osteoporosis and hip fractures, which are frequently a fatal event for elderly individuals. So dairy, and if you take a step back and look at Mother Nature does not build adult skeletons in mammals with milk. Most mammalian babies nurse for a very short period of time, but the majority of calcium that goes into their skeleton comes from their natural diet, not their mother's milk. So milk is not a good way to get calcium for your skeleton, and studies have shown that. You drink more milk, you have more fractures, you have more osteoporosis. So it's not only is it not good for people of color because it's going to make them immediately sick, it's not even good for Caucasian Americans because it's not doing them any good. It's not protecting their skeletons, but what it is doing is raising their risk for breast cancer and other hormone-related cancers in women, and prostate and testicular cancer in men. And people go, whoa, how can that be? Because it's full of hormones. The only way you get milk from a cow is to keep her pregnant. And if she's pregnant, her milk is full of estrogens and also cortisol. Not only that, it's full of these proteins like bovine serum, albumin, and so forth that promote cancer development. Dr. Colin Campbell said that the casein that is in milk, which is one of the proteins that is in cow's milk, was probably the most potent stimulator of cancer development that he has seen in his research years. So consumption of dairy foods will promote breast cancer, recent study showed that women who drank a cup of more milk a day had 50 to 70% higher risk of breast cancer. Men who drink a cup of milk a day have a 60% higher risk of prostate cancer, and for no benefit for your skeleton. So we need, and that was the gist of my testimony before the Dietary Guidelines Committee, was that it is racist to recommend to people of color that they eat foods that are going to make them sick. But in the larger picture, it is criminal to continue to recommend the consumption of these unnatural products, dairy products, to Americans in general, knowing full well that it's not going to help their bones, but it is going to raise their risk for a number of potentially deadly diseases.
And it's the main source of saturated fat in the U.S. diet as a group.
Thank
Dairy is.
you. Yeah.
So it looks like they want us to wrap up, but I appreciate so much
time
having
flies,
you.
doesn't it?
I know, yeah. I guess the last question I want to leave you with is, do you think the USDA is actually going to heed your warning, yes or no, kind of?
Sadly, no, because the USDA is heavily influenced by lobbyists from agribusiness. The USDA, I mean, just the fact that the dietary guidelines are put out by the Department of Agriculture shows that their primary goal is to encourage people to eat and consume what our agribusiness farmers are producing, as opposed to what's healthiest for them. So having said that, miracles are always possible.
I hope. We deserve some miracles.
And
right
so, you know, we can always hope that sanity prevails and they will stop recommending. I mean, let me say this. When you look at the 4 food groups nonsense from, 20, 30 years ago versus the food pyramid and now the food plate, the prominence of dairy products and even animal foods in general has gone way, way down.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is a minor miracle. So while I'm skeptical, I'm still hopeful that ultimately they will be removed.
All right, you heard it from the man himself. Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for listening, everybody. And check out Milton Mills. Go to this website, as you mentioned, and you can see what you should take to fight COVID. All right. Thanks for watching.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you so
I don't
much.
know if we're
Let me
still
get
live or
over
not.
here to Zoom
Just in
and
case
leave the
we
meeting
are.
so we don't hear them keep talking over everything. They're going to have a party by themselves. So we're getting close to the end of the day. I am going to do a little thing. I'm going to go out to my yard. You guys get to see my yard for a second. And I will meet you out there. I just got to turn the camera on and walk out there. So here we go. Okay, so like I just said, we're done with most of the heavy lifting for today. And we're next going to get into our musical acts. And so I just wanted to give a shout out. The Oasis is our beer, wine, and garden at the festival, and it's where it really helps us afford the festival. We got a lot of generous companies that like to help us out. I just want to give them a shout out and kind of show you some of the things we have. If you're up for an adult beverage, or even if you're up for some sodas or something, we do it underneath the best tree at the park, right next to the main stage where you can hear the bands and everything. But a couple of people I wanted to talk about today. Let's see, we'll get to that. I'm not going to drink all of these because I still have some things to do. But, the one thing I want to talk about, we have a new wine sponsor this year. This is, let me get my notes. I can't have this all memorized. So this is a Scout and Cellar wine. It's a clean crafted wine. They sent me a bottle of the 2018 Middle Jane Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon. And I guess it's got some blackcurrant and blackberry with blackberry espresso beans and mocha, and a bright with serious frame and a grippy finish. I used to have a roommate who was a wine snob, and he would explain to me what all of those words meant, and that was a long time ago. I'm actually just going to let this sit here and breathe for a minute while I go through some of the other stuff. In the past, if you know that we used to just have beer and wine, sometimes we made margaritas with with a kind of a fake vodka sort of thing. But this year we've opened it up. Next year we're going to try to do more of a beer fest with a bunch of different companies. But greatly and interestingly enough, I got contacted by some hard kombucha companies. I've never even heard of hard kombucha before. So one is Local Roots. Let's see. They've got a Booch Mosa, the Cali Mule, and the Strawberry Mojito. I got the Cali Mule the other day, and I had one last night, and I really dug it. It is It's an alcoholic beverage, so it's an adult drink, but it's got a lot of flavor, and it isn't overwhelmingly stupid with ginger like some kombuchas can be. I really dig it. Let's see. What they wanted me to say is that these started out in their home kitchens, just brewing the stuff for fun. And it says, at Local Roots, we strive to always brew for the lowest sugar content possible while always using the finest organic and cold-pressed ingredients. And I'm not going to crack this right now, maybe later, but this is a good one. And then the other company was Boochcraft, another hard kombucha company. I didn't even know these existed. So this one I got is the ginger, lime, and rose hips. They've also got a grapefruit, hibiscus, lemon, maple, orange, pomegranate, some other flavors. And they also do seasonal ones as well. So again, I had this 2 nights ago. I'm not going to drink them all in one night. And I really liked it. Again, they did a good job with the flavoring, not overwhelming, refreshing. And the whole thing is about them. Boochcraft says they saw a need for alcoholic beverage with integrity, and they created a craft brew you could not only enjoy, but also feel good about drinking. So there you go with those. Now, we have a hard cider company, a new one this year, which is great. I've kind of been a fan of theirs. It's 101 Ciders. They make a sour cider, which may sound weird if you've never had one, but my roommate, who's also runs the stage at VegFest, is a hardcore cider fan. He's working today, so he's not here. And he is one of those guys that likes the super, super sweet ones, but he really liked what we tried last year. And I, last night, opened up Scrumpy, and I really dug this one. It's a hazy apple cider, and I've got these other ones. This is the Friendly Stranger, Sunlit, and Gunpowder Guava. That sounds pretty good. And then Cactus Rose. So I will try all of these over the next week or so, and hopefully we'll have more reviews for you if anybody's curious about checking them out. Okay, and now let's try our wine. Let's see if it really has all of those flavors they said. Ooh, I like that. So something to look forward to, and I'm sure we'll have other flavors at the festival next year. Oh, one thing I wanted to say about 101 Ciders, they actually sent me a little something to brief you on, and I got to say yes because they're so nice to us. Full spectrum refers to a fermented beverage that contains a complete and continuous array of components arranged in the natural order of a spontaneous fermentation as opposed to the unnatural addition of ethanol. That's the industry standard. These naturally alcoholic beverages are associated with the entourage effect, which refers to an enhanced drinking experience due to the various components of the beverage working synergistically. Full spectrum fermented beverages are raw and alive. So that's another bit about 101 Ciders. Okay, and last but definitely not least, we have Modern Times Brewery. And I picked up a bunch of their hoppy tropical pale ale because I'm kind of an IPA snob. And you want to like it because they're being so great to us, but I have to admit, I really do like it anyway. So this one I am going to crack today because we're close to the end. I don't have to drive, I just have to walk into the studio over there and I'll be fine. Check out YouTube. Okay, it's got me again. YouTube. He's waiting. Excellent connection. I don't want that. Okay, folks, I think I'm live again. Thanks for waiting. I'm checking on Facebook and YouTube, and I know you couldn't hear me, so I'm going to go back. I recorded that little bit while I was outside. I'm going to play that again for you. And I got Melissa on the phone here. She's going to tell me if things are working in real time. So hopefully we will get this going here. Oh, wait. I had to hit the Facebook live stream. So YouTube can hear me, but Facebook is still warming up there. Okay, good. So let me just fix this. I have to go to this before I... Okay, here we go. Volume up all the way, ready to go. Okay, so I'm told I'm back, and I should be on Facebook as well. Looks like Facebook is up. Looks like YouTube is up. Great. Okay, so I recorded my live thing that I just did outside, and what I was saying before that is that somebody gave us a great donation. That's really generous. It's not too late to win the air fryer. Just 10 words or less on our feeds why you think you should win it. And I have another gift. It is a $50 gift certificate. And now you remember Jane Elizabeth, who was on Jane Velez Mitchell's panel. She has a store online. The first person to type in the name of that website, including the dot whatever, will get this. And that's going to be both Facebook and YouTube because I only have one of those to give away. If you go to our vegfestla.org, you can get on our mailing list. You can donate. We really could use that. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, all that good stuff. I'm going to go and just see. I'm going to go outside and, well, I'm going to play the video from me being outside if I can find it. So here we go. Okay, so like I just said, we're done with most of the heavy lifting for today. And we're next going to get into our musical acts, and so I just wanted to give a shout out. The Oasis is our beer, wine, and garden at the festival, and it's where it really helps us to afford the festival. We got a lot of generous companies that like to help us out. I just want to give them a shout out and kind of show you some of the things we have if you're up for an adult beverage, or even if you're up for some sodas or something. We do it underneath the best tree at the park, right next to the main stage where you can hear the bands and everything. But a couple of people I wanted to talk about today, let's see, we'll get to that. I'm not going to drink all of these because I still have some things to do. But, you know, the one thing I want to talk about, we have a new wine sponsor this year. This is, let me get my notes. I can't have this all memorized. So this is a Scout and Cellar wine. It's a clean crafted wine. They sent me a bottle of the 2018 Middle Jane Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon. And I guess it's got some blackcurrant and blackberry with blackberry espresso beans and mocha, and a bright with serious frame and a grippy finish. I used to have a roommate who was a wine snob, and he would explain to me what all of those words meant, and that was a long time ago. I'm actually just going to let this sit here and breathe for a minute while I go through some of the other stuff. In the past, if you know, that we used to just have beer and wine. Sometimes we made margaritas with a, with a kind of a fake vodka sort of thing. But this year we've opened it up. Next year we're going to try to do more of a beer fest with a bunch of different companies. But greatly and interestingly enough, I got contacted by some hard kombucha companies. I've never even heard of hard kombucha before. So one is Local Roots. Let's see. They've got a Booch Mosa, the Cali Mule, and the Strawberry Mojito. I got the Cali Mule the other day, and I had one last night, and I really dug it. You know, it is... it's an alcoholic beverage, so it's an adult drink, but it's got a lot of flavor, and it isn't overwhelmingly stupid with ginger like some kombuchas can be. I really dig it. Let's see, what they wanted me to say is that these started out in their home kitchens, just brewing the stuff for fun. And it says, at Local Roots, we strive to always brew for the lowest sugar content possible while always using the finest organic and cold-pressed ingredients. And I'm not going to crack this right now, maybe later, but this is a good one. And then the other company was Boochcraft, another hard kombucha company. I didn't even know these existed. So this one I got is the ginger, lime, and rose hips. They've also got a grapefruit, hibiscus, lemon maple, orange pomegranate, some other flavors. And they also do seasonal ones as well. So again, I had this 2 nights ago. I'm not going to drink them all in one night. And I really liked it. Again, they did a good job with the flavoring, not overwhelming, refreshing. And you know, the whole thing is about them. Boochcraft says they saw a need for alcoholic beverage with integrity, and they created a craft brew you could not only enjoy, but also feel good about drinking. So there you go with those. Now, we have a hard cider company, a new one this year, which is great. I've kind of been a fan of theirs. It's 101 Ciders. They make a sour cider, which may sound weird if you've never had one, but my roommate, who's also runs the stage at VegFest, is a hardcore cider fan. He's working today, so he's not here. And he is one of those guys that likes the super, super sweet ones, but he really liked what we tried last year. And last night, opened up Scrumpy, and I really dug this one. It's a hazy apple cider, and I've got these other ones. This is the Friendly Stranger, Sunlit, and Gunpowder Guava. That sounds pretty good. And then Cactus Rose. So I will try all of these over the next week or so, and hopefully we'll have more reviews for you if anybody's curious about checking them out. Okay, and now let's try our wine to see if it really has all of those flavors they said. Ooh, I like that. So something to look forward to, and I'm sure we'll have other flavors at the festival next year. Oh, one thing I wanted to say about 101 Ciders, they actually sent me a little something to brief you on, and I gotta say yes, because they're so nice to us. Full spectrum refers to a fermented beverage that contains a complete and continuous array of components arranged in the natural order of a spontaneous fermentation as opposed to the unnatural addition of ethanol. That's the industry standard. These naturally alcoholic beverages are associated with the entourage effect, which refers to an enhanced drinking experience due to the various components of the beverage working synergistically full spectrum fermented beverages are raw and alive. So that's another bit about 101 ciders. Okay, and last but definitely not least, we have Modern Times Brewery. And I picked up a bunch of their hoppy tropical pale ale because I'm kind of an IPA snob. And I you want to like it because they're being so great to us, but I have to admit, I really do like it anyway. So this one I am going to crack today because we're close to the end. I don't have to drive, I just have to walk into the studio over there and I'll be fine. But it's got a great color. They have a bunch of really cool names for their beers also. Let me get down here. Fortunate Islands, which is a Citra Amarillo. The Black House, which is 75% Ethiopia and 25% Sumatra. Curious what that's like. Blazing World is a Nelson Simcoe Mosaic. They've got one called Ice, which uses a Czech Saaz, which I used to use when I was brewing beer at home. Fruitlands in Orderville. They're the first and only employee-owned brewery in California. They're the number 6 most followed brewery on social media in the world. Named one of the top 25 best brewers in the world. They have 7 properties, San Diego, Encinitas, all over the place. They're 100% vegan friendly, and they're the only completely vegan friendly production brewery on the West Coast. So you got to give it up for Modern Times. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the companies, and then we'll see you next year. We'll listen to some music and hang out. Okay, well, I got to go back to work, so I'll clean this up later. Okay, and I'm back. Oh, so you know that the hoppy tropical beer that I was having is I can't use that camera. It is the Fortunate Islands, and this is something I would definitely get again. I dig that one. So okay, now it's time for music. I've already asked for donations, told you to sign up on our newsletter. I've asked you for all that stuff. Thank you so much. Still not too late to win the air fryers. 10 words or less. Why you deserve and need that air fryer. One winner from Facebook, one winner from YouTube. We're going to cut it off when this last band ends and I say goodbye. Only comments that happen before that's over. So you got about 10, 15 minutes. And let's go on to some music. Now we'll get back to Julia Othmer, and let's see where she goes.
Hi. Thank you, Billy, and hello to VegFest LA. I'm so sorry that we can't be together in person this year, but it is so awesome to be with you virtually. I'm so thrilled to share a song with you. This is a song that I wrote to remind myself to not only be kind to others, but to be kind to myself, not bully myself. And what's this called? Freaking Awesome. Sharp teeth can hide in the softest mouth. I heard what you said, I know what you meant, but I'm playing the long game. You push me down, I'm gonna push away. You got what you need, so take it near, 'cause I'm not gonna back down. Now if I kept all of the storms that you thrown, I would not know my own. I am not willing to be somebody's shadow. In my mind, I'm awesome. freaking awesome, yeah. Freaking awesome, 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 freaking you are freaking awesome too. Thank you so much, VegFest LA, and please take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Lots of love, and back to you, Billy.
Thank you, Julia. And for those of you who don't know her, check out our website. We'll put links when we get this whole thing compiled up. We'll put links to all the performers and everything. And if you ever get to meet Julia in person, she's exactly like that. She's one of the most real performers I've ever met. So anyway, so we're going to keep this moving along. We got our old buddy Joel Martin. He's played at a bunch of our festivals before, and I was sitting there the other day thinking, man, I got to give Joel a slot. And I know he's doing a lot of live streaming and stuff like that these days, so he was totally set up to do this, and I am going to send you over to Joel right now. Hey, Joel.
Hi, thank you so much, Billy. It's so good to see you again. You look fantastic. I'm an old friend and fan of the festivals. I've played here many times and always go and hang out when I can. I think it's fantastic you guys are doing this, and thank you so much for your hard work. This is my community. I haven't eaten meat in 33 years. I've been vegan for 17, and I think I'm really honored to play for you today. So I'm going to do a song of mine called There Is Only Love. Idealism either. It's the only thing that really matters. We know it, our community knows it. it's all about. Compassion for the planet, for the animals, for each other, for ourselves. It's an honor to play for you today. Thank you so much. There's only love. 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 Telling you it's time to start again. There's only love. Saying you should let it go. There's only love. Telling you the clouds will part again. There is only love. Saying what you ought to know. Thank you so much, VegFest. Take care, be good to yourselves and each other. If you liked what you heard, please find me on Facebook at Joel Martin, I play pedal steel, or Instagram at Tronmoog, TRONMOOG. I would love to play for you so much. Take care, Billy. Have a great rest of your festival.
Thanks, Joel. Good to see you again. I dig that song. Getting a lot of great comments on Facebook and YouTube. So hopefully, audience will grow a little bit. You guys can check out his music, and that's it. So we're coming down to the end of the day here, and I want to thank you guys so much. This for all the stress of having to deal with the glitches and all that kind of stuff. This went really well. I appreciate the help in the comments, helping us track down problems. And hopefully we'll do this again. It seems like people would like us to do this again. Let us know if you want more of this and what you liked. In the comments, send us an email, info@vegfestla.org. And we'll hear from you. We'll hear from you soon. And we'll see you next year, May 2nd, in Woodley Park up here in Van Nuys. If you're from a little bit further away, come make a weekend out of it. It's fun. Volunteer. We need help. And we're going to have a great time. So we're going to end the day with the Darden Sisters. They actually played a couple years ago for us, and they're just fantastic. And the cool thing is we have all these solo people because everybody's safer at home right now, but the Darden Sisters all live together. So they actually have a full band we can end the day with, and they're going to do one, maybe two songs, and here they are.
Hey everyone, we're Darden. We're all siblings from Fullerton, California. Thank you so much for having us once again. During this time, obviously we need a little extra love and peace during this time, so we're here to share a little bit of our good vibes with you, hopefully. So thank you so much for having us. We have Mr. Josiah back there on drums, that's our brother. Tabitha right here, the youngest of the group, the youngest of the sisters, playing bass. Pavla on mandolin, Clara on guitar, and I'm Sila on violin. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the music. Here's a little Chase the Clouds Away for you. Here we go.
Hey, that was great. You guys do another one?
Thank you so much, everybody.
Do
Hey,
another
you want
one.
one more song? We got one more in us. Here we go. Let's do another original song, yeah? Let's do a little Alien. Here we go. This one's called Alien. Kind of fitting for right now, huh? Yeah. No troubles lurking everywhere I go. Never understand why things don't go my way. Why is all the sunshine turned to gray? Why is all the sunshine turned to gray? Oh, the gray sky's way too high. Being honest, so am I. We got people thinking outer space is so fully standing place. Maybe I'm an alien. Don't know how heaven's gonna treat me when I go. Will I be worth it? Please ask me how it's fitting. It's hard to know where to go and what to do. Gray sky's way too high. Being honest, so am I. Bottom of this barrel is just too dry. We got people thinking outer space is so good standing place. Maybe I'm an alien. Gray sky's way too high. For being honest, so am I. The bottom of this barrel is just too dry. We got people thinking outer space is hoping to stand in race. Maybe I'm an alien. I'm in the middle of nowhere yet. Sink the sand, sky to sky. There's nothing I can Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Hopefully we're able to do this in person really soon. We'll see you guys there. Thanks, VegFest. From Jordan.
Thank you, guys. That was really freaking awesome. Hey, it's the end of the day. We only went 34 minutes over. I hope that's cool with everybody out there. I had a blast, and I hope you'd also. And just one quick thing. This is the air fryer we're giving away. Oh, it's trying to load it up there for you. Oh, this is the air fryer we're giving away, the two of them. So I hope you guys all got it in because it is 5:34. Only taking comments left before 5:35 p.m. today. So if you want that air fryer, get it in there. I've seen some really good ones. Mario and I are going to have to go through all this and pick a winner. Anyway, thank you from VegFest LA. Thank you from Jane Velez Mitchell and all of her guests. Thank you from Joshua Awesome, Mike the Vegan, Melissa Breslow for doing the yoga, and Mario for cooking, and Marley, and Dr. Mills and Tori Washington. We had quite a lineup today. We had a lot of people doing a lot of things. Alexandra Paul stopped by, all sorts of fun stuff. So if you want to see more of these, let us know. And again, you go to our webpage, get on the mailing list, like us, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. I don't have a cool, snazzy ending thing. I spent all that time making the opening credits. I don't have anything to say, so I'm just going to say goodbye and thank you very much. We'll see you next year, May 2nd. Okay? Then I'm going to